Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Untitled Car Project, show 47.
Rob, you can start out this episode with a joke.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah, I wanted to give a big shout out to my sidewalks. You probably keep me out of the streets.
Good job. Good job. Full of the dad jokes. You're warming up the dad jokes.
Hooray.
That actually warmed my heart.
Yeah. I think it was the shot of whiskey you just took.
Oh.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Yes.
Salute.
Cheers. Got our beverages.
Beverages ready to go. Okay. Well, let's get it rolling.
Okay.
Hey, want to apologize. We missed a show last week, but it just kind of happened that way. Too many of us working out of town, couldn't get to it. But I figured you guys could manage a week off from our ramblings and rantings.
We try our best, though.
We did. We gave it a shot. As always, hit follow and share with your friends, please.
Hit that like button.
Hit that little share button and send it out to everybody in your text chain. It's actually working. I'm seeing the numbers climb some.
Hooray.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty happy.
So we're up to what, 10?
13.
11? Nice.
13.
Hey, it's my lucky number. I'm okay with that.
Heck yeah. High five.
Yeah.
Nobody else likes it, so that's why I went for it. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody else
felt sorry
uses
for it.
right? So you're just like, you're in. This week on the show, we've got Mike Shaw from the Open Paddock Rallycast. Thanks for being here.
You're
Really
welcome.
Appreciate it. I'm Rob Spring.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
Jeremy Molt.
Let's get things rolling. So today we're going to talk about all things rally.
Woo!
We will try to cover all of your questions, even though we don't know what they are.
So are we covering things with dirt and pavement, or like, are we just...
Oh, no,
I don't know. I know so little about rally, it's going to be a learning experience.
By the way, I sent you that list,
Yeah.
and they changed it.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
I did. I went through
I even
and
made notes and everything. I got like my
Perfect.
clipboard, and I'm like, yeah,
did.
this is all going to go sideways.
You came so
I
prepared.
know. I'm
impressed.
excited. I'm excited.
Super impressed. Yeah, I changed it all up. I added to it. I subtracted from it. But you know what? We've
Mostly reworded.
reworded.
Yeah.
I was in the background. I
We
did
have
my
cliff
part.
notes. Yeah. Grant was silent. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. We're going to talk about project cars for sale. We're going to talk about building your own tools. And there was one other thing. What is it? Da-da-da-da.
Is it the one I sent?
Yeah.
Parts.
Custom
parts. Yeah.
Some parts. Okay.
Alrighty. Did want to touch on our week off update. Grant,
Yes.
we had some time off. What did you use it for? Anything project wisely?
Yeah. I got the differential back from Liger,
Okay.
and a lot of driving for work.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
Oh,
I wasn't
yeah, yeah.
off. I was working, you know.
Man, you took the long way down there too.
Yeah.
How'd you drive down?
I had to go down I-5 and then take the, and then what's the other one? The 505? No, 219.
I don't know.
Something
Oh,
like that.
Sacramento?
No, I had to go down to a lower state.
Everybody's confused.
You
I
went
from Oregon
down-
to Las Vegas.
There we
the
go.
Same
Oh,
trip
okay,
that
Fine,
I
we'll
did.
spill it.
The same.
Did you
trip
go down
that
through Arizona and back up to Nevada?
No.
He cut across somewhere down there.
We went, so we
through
went,
Death Valley.
no, I didn't go through Death Valley.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I went down the I-5 the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
We cut over at beforehand. Oh, sorry, I thought he was muting me for a minute. I was like, what the heck?
No. Keep going. Finish your thought.
Yeah. We as soon as we got over the California border, we crossed over and went down one of the, not the I-5, but the one that runs parallel all the way down to Bakersfield.
395.
Did you go through Reno? then?
I-5.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah.
on this side of the
395,
mountains.
Yeah.
And the problem with that one we ran into is going down, we ran into snow, we ran into slow traffic, and on the way down, my passenger, Antonio, was with me.
Yep.
We had he's like, yeah, my friends keep saying that California has the best roads in the entire United States. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to test that theory, because as soon as we got into California, it was nothing but concrete slabs every 15 feet.
Right.
And it was just bumpy the entire way. And he's like, this is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it depends on what roads you're hitting down
Yeah.
there. Some of them are pretty awful.
But that was the big thing. Coming back, we were running into a problem because, mind you, for our listeners, I had gone down there with a car trailer to drop off a car. I can't say much more than that for
It's
my
fine.
work.
Doesn't-
And then brought back in a trailer. Coming back, realized I was like doing all my checks. The wheel bearing on one of the wheels of the trailer
Yeah.
was loose.
Oh.
So we tightened that up, went about 100 miles, and then found three more. The other three started becoming loose. So I had to tighten those up.
Yeah, you're going to have
So,
to maintain that
You're just going to
before
keep blaming
race
the
season.
concrete roads, aren't you?
I know, right?
Just bouncing your way down there.
So what
Shook it free.
we ended up going the way back, straight up I-5 the entire way, a much longer route. But it was like, if anything happened, major highway, easy to get off.
Yeah.
find something for a pair.
Yep.
Didn't want to deal with that. One of the biggest problems we ran into was coming over the mountains between Las Vegas and California. Nothing but dense fog, enough where you could not see more than 20 feet in front of you.
In the mountains?
In the mountains,
I think those are called clouds that high up.
probably. It wasn't that way going over, but the way back definitely was. And it was a very interesting thing because everyone likes to drive close even when you can't see each other. You know, and trying to get distance, and you're in a trailer, bright red truck, bright red trailer. So that was a bonus. And having your emergency flash on, bigger bonus. But I'm like, if someone hits me, I'm like, you can't blame them because, like, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
I felt like Santa in his sleigh, I'll tell you what. Except I had no goodies in the back.
Well, I asked you to bring me something, but you didn't do it.
I know.
Rude.
Well,
What was he supposed to bring you?
A 66 GT40.
Oh, yeah.
you see, now you ruined the surprise.
Trailer was empty, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did stop at the Shelby factory again.
I know. That's where you were supposed to pick up my car.
I know. I did get a few other goodies there, though, so that was nice.
All right.
So, but yeah, other than that, in terms of racing-wise, just a little bit of work on Liger with the differential.
Did you get it put back in?
No, not yet. I got distracted last weekend.
What?
It's-
You distracted?
I know, right? Squirrel. And yeah, and right now I've assumed Liger will be done in about 2-3 weeks, and then nothing but practice, and we're gonna start going racing.
You're supposed to have a Lamborghini that is out of the shop.
That too. Jeremy.
Have you done anything with
Why
it?
are you looking at me? It's not my car.
No.
Right. It's not his car. What's
No.
it?
Lamborghini's still at the same process it was. It's been all focused.
So it hasn't moved.
No, all focused on Liger since she's on jack stands with the front bumper off and the rear down, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to just take it out and set it on the side of the road somewhere and see if it goes away.
Yeah, that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
Anyways, what about you, Rob?
A couple of things during the time off. One, a little self-serving. I finished my second book. It is now in editing. So that will be coming out in hopefully a month or so.
I didn't know you were writing the second book.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, wow.
It's done. It's in editing.
That's amazing. Can you tell our listeners your first book?
My first book is called A Sleepwalker's Nightmare. Author is Robert Allen. It's my middle name, so I used Robert Allen for that. It's a little bit hard to find. It's available on most online retailers, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, blah, blah, blah.
You still haven't signed my copy, by the way.
You haven't brought it in.
Okay.
Anyway, it's out there. I can share the link on our Facebook and Instagram. I can do that. So the next one is called Grim the Reaper.
Okay.
And hopefully within the next month or two, we'll have that available for sale as well.
What inspired you to start writing the second one?
I just had an idea
Okay.
of something I wanted to do, and I like it. I think it turned out really good. Pretty excited about it. I think it's better than the first one myself. I get pretty good reviews on the first book. People seem to like it, so that's cool. Anyway,
I got a non-car related question to ask you about that.
Okay.
It's okay. Did you use or are you using any AI in this book at all, even for just
none whatsoever.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all out of my demented head.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, he actually authored it.
Yes.
Well, because
I
there's
did.
sometimes like
No, you're right, and that's a concern for people that really write their books. There's people out there that just type in an idea and they're just cut and pasting,
Yeah.
which is such bullshit.
yeah.
And no, this is all out of my own head, which I'm very proud of. So
Well, I was going to say not just that, but I was also saying like, say if you're having AI to like, okay, here's a chapter, I finish it, make it sound better, or
right.
check for spelling errors or whatever.
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
didn't do any of that.
Yeah, my wife does actually a little bit of writing
Yeah.
on the side, and I think the only thing, quote unquote, AI. Before they called it AI, it was just an algorithm.
Yeah.
Now they call everything AI, but she would just use it, for like, how often did I use this word? It would like
Sure.
figure out like
That's a
words you
good
repeat
idea.
too much, or
Yeah.
something when you're writing,
Yep.
things like that. But I mean, those kind of key things kind of help you just kind of tighten it up.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you've got an editor, then that of course helps
Yeah.
a lot there instead of trying to do it yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sent it off. The last one took, to me, far too long to edit. I'm thinking this one might go a little faster though, so I hope so.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I'm excited to get that out and released into the wild.
What about you, Jeremy? Anything you did this week?
I have one more thing.
Okay.
I actually put the C3 on the lift and started tearing into that.
Nice.
Tried to
Okay.
get it started. As any 50-year-old car, you find stuff that the previous however many owners did to the car, right?
Okay.
And So there was a lot of, actually my son came over, my son Brad, and we dug into it on last Saturday. Spent, I don't know, 5-6 hours on it, digging through wiring and that kind of stuff. How come we're not getting it to turn over? We did get power to certain things. We could see some dash lights come on, the headlights come on.
That's cool.
Yeah. We did finally get the starter to spin over after realizing that they had bypassed the clutch engagement switch.
Okay.
You have to have that to get it to ignition, right?
Yeah.
The key is stuck in the ignition still.
Okay.
So they bypassed that switch, assuming they were trying to get away with, because of the ignition switch being messed up. Traced it all out, took some of the dash apart, finally found that they had put in a push button to start the car.
Oh,
Oh no.
Yes.
Huh.
So, yeah.
I mean, that was retro back in the
I know.
thousands.
It's really hokey, but anyway, found it and was able to get the starter to spin over, but it's too weak to actually spin the motor. So there's a new starter in the works, and we'll go from there. But the cool thing
That's
is,
exciting though.
yeah, I got a little work done on it, so starting to tinker with it a little bit.
very nice.
Epic.
Yep.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yard work.
Yeah.
I did
That's
yard work
project
and,
car guy right there.
and I started looking for campgrounds for the trailer because I don't want to just use it at the track this year.
Okay.
I want to be able to use it in doing other things. So
Get out in the wilderness.
yeah, a lot of this stuff I want to do is out at the beach.
Yep.
I want to do some crab fishing and salmon fishing and stuff like that. So
Nice. Have you figured out what track days you're going to be going to?
one day out to ORP,
Okay.
and then probably a lot of the Shelton ones.
Okay. Right on. I got one more thing to add before we get to rally. Um,
No.
car project vehicle related.
Okay.
I thought this would be interesting.
Okay.
For work wise this week, I've actually had to start taking apart a 55-ton crane, which has been very interesting working and kind of really digging in depth on the crane. It's different than working on a semi truck. It's different than working on a pickup or anything like that because you're up in the air, like physically in the air.
Well, is it motor work or what kind of?
I'm having
you
to
take
replace
it
the radiator out of the back of it, and it's got a 97 Cummins engine in it.
But it sits way up off the.
It's six about like the deck is probably 8 to 10 feet because you have to have the outriggers out and have it planted down
So is this the radiator for the
engine.
engine, not the part that? Because does it run all the hydraulics and everything off the engine,
So this
or
is-
does it have a separate motor for the crane part?
So this one is a RT, which stands for rough terrain vehicle. So it's 4 wheels and a single cab that spins around.
Sure, yeah.
No lower cab onto it, no truck. This one is made to go in environments that a normal semi truck one wouldn't be able to.
Gotcha.
And that's been interesting, just kind of digging into it, using lots of ladders as much as possible.
I'm
one
sure,
thing-
absolutely safely.
Well, that's the thing I was going to bring up. Is actually I may have broke my leg. I'm not sure. I think probably.
I think you're
fractured it.
probably okay. It didn't look like you were limping.
So I actually fell off the crane earlier this week.
Did you?
Yeah, one misstep. Very cautiously, but like my foot just literally something slick and did that, and look, I was able to bind up between part of the crane and only fell about 2 feet. But yeah, the
I have a dumb
bone,
question.
my lower leg is. I'm able to walk on that and stuff. I had someone come and help me up after that, but it's very sensitive. So either
Yeah.
bruised or something. It's enough where it's
Highly
been
bruised and
days.
twisted. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a dumb question.
yeah.
Per OSHA rule,
Mhm.
do you have to wear a harness if you're above 6 feet like everybody else does?
In the construction industry, might be different.
Yeah, I don't know.
You might look into that.
Well, I know there's even if you are, you have. I know someone's going to correct me on this one. I think it's like 18 feet because you have your harness that you have on, and then you have your breakaway strap, which is going to be a 2 foot, which breaks away to 6 feet,
Right.
and then your tie off on top of that. So if you're hooked up to a harness and you're already 8 feet, I mean, you have to have something first to hook off to you, and then as well as it's got to make it so if you do fall, for example, on the crane, say if I go for the middle part and I fall, it's going to slam me right into the middle then. And so instead of going straight down, so you'd have to have a pickaway point that would be away from it. So it's just something I'm learning from our main mechanic on how to be addressing something like this. I've worked on some cranes in the past, but not in an RT where there's just really nowhere to stand or be at.
Yeah.
And I'll keep us all updated, like how that's going and whatnot. But yeah, just something that needs to be done. Thought that was a fun thing to share.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, different work for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some rally stuff.
Woo!
Yeah. So, let's see. Actually, I want Mike, if you would just like tell us about yourself, a little bit about your background as far as, you know,
How did I get involved in all this?
bingo. Yeah.
See here, my story. You know, like many youngins back in the day, you know, started playing around with rally games on the computer. I thought rallying was this thing that happened only in Europe. It wasn't really televised much here.
Yeah.
And back when I was younger, I couldn't afford Speed Vision, if you remember that channel.
Dude.
Back in the day, they showed all kinds of cool
Speed
stuff.
Channel
right?
was
Yeah,
awesome.
and of course, I couldn't get that. I couldn't afford that upper package
Right.
stuff, right? Anyway, so you know, playing like the dirt games on the computer from Codemasters and whatnot, Colin McRae and all that, and YouTube was a newer thing back in the late 2008, 2009. You know, it was kind of new, and I was starting to follow the World Rally Championship. And they had like this, you could stream like the radio coverage that they had for it.
cool.
So
Oh,
it
that's
was kind of
awesome.
cool. And I'm like, oh, look, they got YouTube videos. I can watch all this back stuff. Well, as YouTube was getting going, they said, you know, if you like, you know, this video, you might also like, you know, and
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
people started uploading, you know, their own videos. And there's like, this video comes up of Oregon Trail Rally. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Oregon Trail Rally.
Is that real?
You mean
Is
there's
that
one
local?
in
Yeah.
there's one in my backyard? What? And of course, you know, next time it came around, that next year in 2010, I had to go spectate. And so I went and took a look at it and like, wow, this is really neat. But I only went to PIR the first night. We do at the racetrack, and they go both on the track and use some of the service roads around it. So you can still see them getting in some of the gravel and dirt and stuff. And,
that's
and so that's still kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's also great crowd atmosphere and stuff like that. And seeing, you know, back then Ken Block hooning it around the corners and stuff. And anyways, so the next year I wanted to get out there in the woods. And so we used to go to Hood River area before we went out to Doofer, which is outside of the Dalles.
Yeah.
And so went out there, and I'm in this cool spectator spot around this corner, and it's like, this is where they're in their natural environment of these cars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just flying down forest logging roads. And I was just so enthralled by it. And one of the volunteers there was like, why don't you volunteer if you're so into this? I'm like, how does that happen? And, you know, told me how to sign up. And so the very next year, then 2013, started out as just a road marshal, went out and basically you just helped block off, you know, where some local could potentially get onto the racing road, right? You don't want that. And so we always have a person there at every one of those points. And so you're just following this, you know, group of cars, and you park up, and you get the best spectating of the whole freaking rally when you're a volunteer.
Yeah.
Because you're out there in it. You're not at just some designated spectator. I mean, the spectator spots are cool too.
Yeah.
But as a volunteer, it's just that much better.
Wow.
And yeah, and so while I was there, I mean, I had Mount Hood in the background and rally cars going by me. I'm sitting there, you know, in a chair, and you know, got my lunch with them. It's literally you're out there having like a picnic with race cars going by out in the woods. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah. No doubt.
And so that started out doing that, and I was doing the podcast thing, and because rally just doesn't get much coverage, and
Right.
so I found these friends that had this podcast called Open Paddock, and they wanted to know more about the rally stuff that was going on locally here, and so I hopped on there and just kind of told them about what was going on with the event here in Oregon, and started coming on regularly just as I followed the sport, and then as I was volunteering more year after year, they're like, you know, you've gotten to know some of these rally drivers. I brought them on the podcast and stuff. And next thing you know, they're like, you know, why don't you become an organizer?
Yeah,
And so then I got in, you know, helping figure out where like media would go and stuff like that, since I was involved in the media side of things a bit. And then 2017 is when there was kind of this clash between what was called Rally America, which ran the championship, and a new championship started up called ARA. They're now the main championship. Rally America no longer exists. But that year that they started in 2017, they wanted to do live streaming. Facebook live streaming was a new thing, and they wanted to have somebody do some commentary for that. And well, the first event that they did in the U.S. because they're creating a whole new rule book, and they couldn't copy the one from Rally America or they get sued. So they went and got the one from Canada. The Canadians let us kind of copy their rule book, and so we used most of their rule book. And they did the first event actually across the way in Canada, a winter event. Then came over the first event in the U.S. was Oregon Trail. And
Wow.
like, we want to do this live streaming thing, and most of the local guys, so how about you be on camera? I'm like,
Ooh,
okay.
That's exactly.
that's not intimidating at all.
And and you got Travis Pastrana and Ken Block and all these guys there, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty intimidating at first, but it was so much fun. And they're like, "Hey, Oregon Trail went great." Back then, we did Oregon Trail first, then Olympus. So like, were you planning on going up to Olympus? I'm like, well, I usually volunteer up there because that's still, again, all my friends up there. And so went to Olympus, and they had me do it there. And I'm like, that's awesome. So how about the entire rest of the championship? What are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So for 3 years, I got to follow the championship all around the country.
Wow.
And do commentary for them. It was a lot of fun.
That's
All the way
awesome.
Super.
Then COVID hit, and then
Killed
everything got
everything.
reset. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But
Oh, that's cool, though.
But yeah,
That's
so-
quite the start.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
amazing.
a lot of fun.
Just for our listeners, can you describe the basics of rally? What it is, what we're actually talking about.
There's so many flavors of rally.
Sure.
So when you hear
Yep.
rally, people get sometimes think of rally cross.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people think of TSD, time, speed, distance rally, and then sometimes they think of stage rally. And then there's also 2 different flavors of rally cross. So I'll start from the most basic one, SCCA rally cross.
Okay.
These are kind of like autocross,
Yeah.
where you're basically racing around cones in a field somewhere. You're on dirt.
Okay.
You just instead of tarmac, you're on dirt and you're racing against the clock. And they tend to do instead of, I think with when you're doing autocross, it's your best time.
Yeah.
You do cumulative time. It's
Okay.
like you would do kind of more like in a stage rally with the rally cross. So there's that, and there's a whole bunch of them that happened up in Washington State. We're trying to get some more here in Oregon. There's one, I think they go down into a place down in Albany where the motocross track is.
Yeah, Albany
and do some,
Supercross.
yeah, they
Yeah,
do
yeah.
some rally crossing there.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of the lowest level. You can use pretty much any car. You just need to have a helmet, and
Awesome.
that's about it.
Yeah.
Is there no restrictions? Like with autocross, the restriction is no diesels, I believe, right?
I don't know. I've never heard that rule.
Really? Like I know I wasn't allowed to race my Excursion because it was too tall and
it's
too
too
wide, and they
tall.
said, "Oh, it's a diesel truck." I'm like, "It's
Eh.
not diesel."
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of factors in that one. Not
Yeah,
just the
yeah, there's a
engine,
lot
man.
more than just diesel.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you have what, like little VW Golf TDI,
Yeah,
whatever,
true.
right?
Exactly,
So
yeah.
that's fine.
This is Grant Brain. We have
Yeah.
to
Oh,
compensate.
sorry,
Squirrel.
compensate.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
So the other form of rallycross was like when we had what was called the Global Rallycross Championship, or Nitro Circus's rallycross.
Yeah, I've
and that's
seen that.
side by side racing.
Sure.
On a short dirt or
with jumps,
with-
obstacles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a different form of rallycross
Okay.
than of course SCCA rallycross.
Gotcha.
And so that's just a side by side circuit racing of sorts. Just
Yeah.
they use dirt and whatnot and tarmac
Yeah.
combinations on
All right.
that. Then there is TSD, time, speed, distance rally. This is the oldest form of racing really out
Okay.
there. That's where you're basically you have a target time to get to a location. You're trying to go. You actually go at the road speeds.
Oh.
But it's you're trying to go a certain speed to hit a checkpoint at the exact second.
Oh, you don't want to be too early. You don't want to be too late.
Exactly. So every
Oh.
second too early
Is a penalty.
and every second too late.
Oh,
is a
wow.
penalty. Right. So
Okay.
you want to hit it just perfect, and anybody can do this in any car. And they're still around today. it's really fun. It's really
Are they-
competitive.
Yeah.
Do they do it off road and on road, or
Yes,
a combination of
yes.
all? Oh,
I did
sounds
my
amazing.
first one 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was called the Norwester. It was up in Washington State, and then there was one down here in Oregon I did. They do the Norwester once every 2 years, but there's all kinds. There's No Alibi. There's ones up in Canada in the snow. There's tarmac ones. There's Mountains to the Sea. There's several of these things. And the cool thing is, you can use any car. I just used my Subaru Outback. Me and a friend, who was co-driving for me and navigating, and you just gotta. They'll set it so let's say the speed limit is 35 miles an hour, but they'll give you a speed below that of like 34 as your target speed, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to get exactly 34 miles an hour, but you've got hairpin corners.
Yeah.
So
the
you
average.
are still driving spirited doing
Gotcha.
this stuff.
Gotcha.
So if you have to brake for a corner, then you got to compensate faster to make that average speed
Yeah.
at 30. And you don't know where the checkpoints are. Right? They can be anywhere.
Oh, so you got to carry that average all the
Interesting.
time.
Yes,
pretty
sir.
much. Oh, that's crazy.
Okay,
The
that
math
sounds
calculating
fun.
in my
Yeah.
head is just exploding
And
now.
so
It's like, oh,
the
geez.
new way that they do it now is all GPS based. So
Sure.
there's this thing called a Ricta app, and you have this little app running on a smartphone in the background, and you get like instant gratification because you pass through this like virtual checkpoint, and it goes ding, and you'll be able to see how many seconds too fast or too slow I
You're
am.
either green or you're red.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
That's sweet.
So that's time, speed,
How-
distance stuff.
If I can ask real
Yeah.
fast, how close are when it's on the competitive level, are people off by seconds? We're talking like 3 seconds. We're talking like hundreds of seconds.
In the unlimited class, where these guys have literally car computers,
Yeah.
those guys, you're talking tenths. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they will go, an entire stage and they'll lose one. They'll get 1 point.
What's the
or
typical
zero.
length of those stages?
I mean, how about this? The Nor'Wester we did over 3 days was 600 miles total, but the competitive miles was, I think, about 250.
Wow. Rob,
So
we
the
gotta
rest
do
of it was
that.
transits.
Jeremy, we got to do that.
Sounds fun.
But
Yeah.
it was
That
fun.
sounds fun.
Yeah. And the thing is so there's a couple of versions of that. There's like the tricky, trappy ones. They're like called Saturday night rallies. You'll have those around Portland area.
Okay.
And that's where they'll like do. They'll give you a route that isn't very clear, and so they're trying to trick you and stuff like that. So there's just little short ones that are done like just like
Yeah.
in a late afternoon or an evening, and everybody goes for beers afterwards. But then there's these touring style ones. That's the one I'm talking about. This Nor'Wester
Yeah,
one that's
yeah.
multiple days and things like that.
Gotcha.
And those are the ones that are the most fun. And they take you out on roads you would never know to drive on.
Really?
And you go to these beautiful places, but it's like you're trying to stick your time. Ooh, this is really pretty out here. Nope, stay on my time.
yeah. Don't want to get distracted.
When you have your co-driver out with the phone just videoing and be like, I'll
Yeah,
show you
right.
later.
Yeah, exactly.
Grant has to sit in the back seat because he's totally distracted all the time.
Yeah, it's all
Somebody
about
else
the
needs to
squirrels.
navigate.
You want to put
He's
the
all
monkey
about
in
the
the back?
squirrels.
That'll,
Yes, monkey in the back.
So that's time, speed, distance stuff. And then there is, of course, stage rally. Stage rally is what the World Rally Championship is. It's what the American Rally Association Championship is. And that's the one that I'm organized the event for. And that is one car at a time against the clock at full speed.
Fast as you can do it.
As fast as you can go. Exactly. There's several different car classes. I'll get into that in a sec.
You bet.
But basically, these cars all have to be street legal, meaning you are transiting to get to the racing stage. So you leave the
gotcha.
service park, which is where they work on the cars. They
Yep.
like pit stop,
Yep.
and they will drive just public speeds. They have to have working headlights, blinkers, horns,
Yeah.
all the above. And then they get to the racing stage. They enter into the control zone, and when it's their minute to go,
Yep.
cars are usually separated 1 minute at a time because the idea is you don't want to pass a car
Right.
on the stage.
That
That's a
means
safety
somebody's
concern.
messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a puncture or something. But the idea is just as soon as that they get the green light to go, and it is flat out. No matter the surface, could be tarmac,
Yep.
could be gravel, could be snow, could be combination. And
Of all
they
three.
go as fast as they can all the way to the finish. They have a co-driver next to them. That's where they read off pace notes. I'll get into that in a second. And when they go through the flying finish boards, there's somebody with a clock there, and they kind of punch the time that they pass through these flying finish boards.
Yeah.
And the car slows down, goes to a stop control, and that's where they radio to them, here's what your finish time was, and they write it on the time card, and then they go back into transit mode, and they go normal public road speed to the next stage.
Yeah.
And then go full speed again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the finish line actually has a physical person pushing the button. It's not like on the autocross where you have a laser cut.
They've tried using timing lines like that before.
Yeah.
Problem is dust.
Yeah.
Good point on that one.
Yeah. Dust makes that totally useless. So it's
Dust and distance, because those, they're like 6 miles,
Well, there's ways around that, but
12 miles.
yeah.
So does that mean, is there ever then been a
So the new thing that they do now
Yeah.
that's the traditional way, and we still do that as a backup.
okay.
They now all use Rally Safe for the national championship events. Now for the regional events, we'll still use the timing clocks.
Okay.
But and again, we use them as a backup. We'll still have
Yeah.
somebody at the flying finish boards hitting the times, but they actually have a special GPS device in their vehicle, and they will cross the finish line virtually And so it's that same point,
Yeah.
and everybody will get a specific recorded time from that.
Yeah, pre-programmed start and finish points.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally makes sense. Do you race?
Do I race myself? No.
Yes, you do. Okay.
I only TSDs. I've done that.
Yeah, well, I mean that's competition.
Yep.
a little different. But
I've done a class up at Dirtfish.
Yeah.
Teaches you a lot about obviously car control and weight transfer and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a spendy sport. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
someday.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, even doing the class gives you an idea of what they're going through in the
Oh,
cars
100%.
all the time, which
Yeah.
is useful if you're going to be there all the time. And
yeah.
that's awesome.
Who was your instructor up there?
I honestly don't remember his name because when I went up there, it was so long ago. Dirtfish was just getting started, and there was actually a Groupon.
Oh, nice. That's hilarious.
So I got in on that. That must have been like 2013, 2014, something like. Yeah, it was very early days for them.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's really cool.
Nice.
So, how'd you told us how you got involved, but
Yeah.
what's your favorite aspect? What keeps you coming back?
I have to say the people.
Yeah.
There's both the competitors and the volunteer group. You know, the people that are part of volunteering for this, this annual event, they all just come together and everybody just, works so hard to make this thing, go together. And it's just like a big family. We jokingly call everything the rally family. And from the competitors' side, what's neat is I've never seen a form of motorsport where a person that's directly competing, they're in the same class, competing with somebody else, and that person has a part that broke on their car, and they don't have that part, but their closest competitor does. He's going to give them that part because he wants to beat him on the stages, not because of mechanical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're looking out for each other out there, and it's just the camaraderie mixed with the competition is what makes this so great.
Yeah.
And of course, again, you're Oregonians, you like the outdoors. So, I mean, what's not to like? Again, you got car racing out in the outdoors, and it's the purest form of racing. You don't have somebody, bashing into somebody, cutting somebody off, or whatever. It is just the driver and co-driver against the conditions, right? And going as fast as they can. There's nothing to really stop them, or whatever. The only real issues they tend to run into is like dust buildup and things like that they get frustrated with. But other than that, it's just, them
Well,
particular
and,
conditions.
track conditions change throughout the day. It gets rougher. You're
second pass on that stage
absolutely
is going to be very
you start
different.
developing potholes and ruts and different lines and that kind of stuff, depending on if it's dry or wet snow, all of that stuff.
And first car on the road is
like-
a sweeper, and they're going to
Yeah.
actually sweep the loose gravel away.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
better off actually being like fifth or sixth on
Right.
the road because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where it's actually that loose stuff swept away. Now you're down to the bedrock, and
Got some
it
traction.
grips better than tarmac.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really does.
'Cause
The
it's spiky.
braking of these cars.
Yeah.
Have you seen the tires on these things?
I was going to ask you about it, actually.
Yeah, they're pretty impressive.
What kind of tires do they run? I mean, they're not street tires.
No, they are not street tire. No, they actually have specially reinforced sidewalls because of the way they slide around the corner. You get a puncture
Yeah.
in an instant if it wasn't
Yeah.
for the way these tires are designed. So these are specialized rally tires, usually from Pirelli.
Maxxis.
You have them from Maxxis, Michelin.
Several
Hankook
different-
apparently is doing them for the World Rally Championship this year. I had no idea they made a rally tire.
Oh, yeah.
Does that mean competitors are allowed to swap out their tires for the road tires between stages?
Nope.
You wouldn't
So
have
you keep the
time.
same tire even on that. Okay.
Yeah, you would. I mean, they'll have a spare, sometimes two spares,
Yeah.
and if they're starting to wear after a long loop, depending on the length of the loop, they may swap tires. We give a lot of time on the transits because we don't want them to speed on the public roads.
Yeah.
And so it gives them time to stop, maybe change a puncture or something like that, or if they want to swap tires to newer ones. So sometimes, depending on on how the stages are laid out, they might take advantage of that to put on some fresh rubber, maybe some softer rubber for a specific stage that they think they're gonna get more performance out of.
Okay.
So in stage rally, I know that each stage is a different length. Is there an overall maximum, minimum kind of thing? Like, how do they figure out the length of each stage or the entire rally in one?
Really, the target for the national championship is they're looking for a minimum of 120, 130 competitive stage miles for
Okay.
a national event.
Okay.
I believe the minimum for a regional is like 35 miles or something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
They're broken up into whatever the promoter feels necessary, or how do they?
Oh,
figure that out?
no. This has all to do with what can we get,
Okay.
because we are using public roads.
Yeah.
And that's what's different here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one exception. Our friends up in Olympia area for the Olympus Rally, they actually are in a private forest.
Oh.
And so the folks that run that forest, Green Diamond, wonderful partners for Rally, but it is completely private, gated off everywhere. They own the roads.
Yeah.
And so there's no issue.
They can. You can run whatever they say is okay.
Exactly. And actually, one of the owners of that is a former rallyist, and so he's on there.
He's on the right side of
committee
it.
too, and
Yeah.
stuff. And so they get choice roads.
Awesome.
Whereas for us, we're running actual public roads,
Mm-hmm.
so we have a big challenge of a lot of NIMBY, not in my backyard. We're going to close down that road one day out of the year for a few hours, and you get one person that makes a huge deal out of it, and we might not get that road.
Is that hard to close down? How do you do that?
Is it permitted? I'm sorry.
Correct.
Yeah, so just go to the city and then have to do that.
County roads, so we go through the county for that. Sometimes it's working with the city. We'll work with the city. So as an example, our Saturday part of the event is in the Goldendale area, and so we'll work with Klickitat County for closing down the specific roads. But we also notify every household that's on that road, work out any issues with them, try and make it as hospitable. I mean, the way we try and sell it is, bring your friends over to your house, have a barbecue, set out your lawn chairs, and watch cars race by your driveway. I mean,
Why not?
why not, right?
Yeah.
And that usually works out pretty well. So there's several roads out there, but we also work with the city to. We're using the high school as a surface park.
Okay.
And so we use that, and then we have a park expose. It's kind of like the car show before the start of the event.
Oh, yeah.
Where we bring all the cars together. It's kind of the one place you can kind of see everybody all at one place.
close and
because
personal and-
exactly.
yeah.
And so they line up all the cars, and we do that in downtown Goldendale as a park expose. Same thing in downtown Dufur, little old downtown Dufur. We line up all the cars there,
Yeah.
so it's a great way to kind of show off everything. So you have to work with the city to get a permit to use the road, close down that little section too. So
Yeah.
They do it on the paddock at PIR also.
Sure.
So
yeah.
it's cool. I think that's my favorite part.
yeah,
is the expose.
it's cool because you get to see everybody all together. Because otherwise, it's one car going. It's a constant traveling circus. Is the way around.
Yeah.
Once it starts running,
Yeah.
it never stops.
Gotcha.
So you've got cars have to start on their minute, and then when they finish, they're transiting. They got to get to the next stop by a certain minute. They have a certain transit time, so they got to start at that minute. And then they get into service. They have a certain minute they're supposed to enter into service. And if they don't go in that right order, if they don't start on, go in on their minute, they get penalties.
Yeah.
So, and that can be very costly. You go too early, it's a bigger penalty than if you go a little late.
Oh.
And everything in the rules mostly revolves around safety.
Yeah.
With the reason why going too early is a bigger penalty is because the cars are run in order of the fastest car first.
Makes
you don't want a
sense.
slower car going before a faster car.
Yeah.
And that's why they over-penalize, I guess you would say, a little bit to somebody trying to go early in whatever the instance is, because you don't want that happening.
Well, wouldn't that be kind of the same though? If a faster guy misses his time slot and he goes later, he's let say 2 or 3 slower cars go in front of him. Well, now all of a sudden he's still faster.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, there are challenges there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main goal is to, just try.
Ultimately,
to
he's going to
stay
pay
in
the price
certain
if he
order.
catches up with somebody, though.
That's 100% correct.
Yeah, gotcha.
So
Makes sense.
day one,
Yeah.
they go reverse order. So it's the slowest first.
Yeah, if you want me to talk about our event coming up,
Yeah, yeah.
So Oregon Trail Rally is going to be May 16th through the 18th this year.
Coming right up.
And yeah, it's coming right up. We're got a meeting tomorrow night.
Where is it located? Where's
So
the rally
we do,
happening?
so a 3-day event. So we start off Friday night. We'll be at Portland National Raceway. We've been doing this for probably, over 10 years doing it that way. And that's where the cars will do 30-second intervals to make kind of more of a show, and they go in reverse order because we want people to stick around to see the fastest cars. So we actually go slowest car first
Makes
in that.
sense.
And plus PIR is kind of a short place.
Yeah.
And so we just make a little, I think it's about a 3.5, 4 mile way of going both again on the track and off the track and kind of looping around.
Okay.
Stage there, so they do it twice. So they have a earlier run that they do. So I think first car out is 6:00 p.m. and then there'll be a service break in between for about a half hour, 45 minutes. The idea is kind of wait for it to start getting darker. And then we kind of have a night stage, and so
That's cool.
as the cars start going through, as it gets darker and darker, it's always fun to see these cars racing at night.
I have a question about the Portland. So, at the PIR facility, how much access does a fan have? How much can they go out, into the more off-road areas and see that kind of stuff? Where can they go?
The spectating is pretty open. Other than, I mean, you're going to be stuck with like the bleachers and some of the visuals like that. Unfortunately, the areas that are out by where the gravel is, there's no way to get people in and out. Ingress and egress is the problem when it comes to spectators when you've got live stages. So, but we have them race around, coming in the backside over by the motocross track.
Yep.
Okay.
And so they'll come in and come into the grass over there, and we'll make them do a donut sometimes in some place or whatever. And so people can see them kind of doing some stuff in the dirt there.
Yeah.
But then, the other spots, is going to be through on the track, or you can still see them through the fence and whatnot, where they're going pretty fast on the gravel stuff. It's just you're not going to be like right up next to them or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
So
but the access to the teams and the cars in the pits is. There isn't another version, I think, of racing there that gets you that close.
it's
Gotcha.
unlimited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can walk up and talk to anybody. Teams love to have you go sit in their car and check it out and
damn.
stuff like that. Oh, yeah.
We've got to clear our schedule for that weekend.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
So
I will be there Friday night 100%.
Yeah.
So that's Friday.
Yeah.
Then that night, they all pack up and we drive 2 hours
Yeah.
and go to the Dalles. And most people stay overnight in the Dalles or go up into Goldendale directly. So the teams will then, after getting in their hotel at midnight, they're going to be up at probably 5 a.m. to go out to their service spot and start setting that up to get their cars ready for Park Expose, get their cars in there at like 7. And then I think first car out is 8 a.m.
Okay.
usually.
Let me ask you about that then in Goldendale.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the actual track? Where's the
What
racing?
roads are they running?
Yeah.
So if it looks like we're not 100% finalized on our roads yet, but we're going to use most of the ones we used last year from what it looks like. So from a spectator standpoint, you would be seeing where they come along on Dalles Mountain Road. There's a great spectator spot at an apex as they're kind of coming down around the hill, and it's a probably about 120-degree corner as they're coming downhill and sliding around it, kind of off camber before they go flying, step on the gas again to go to the flying finish.
And those are public
roads?
me, tripping on that. Yeah. Public lands is what I was going for.
So this is the land over there. There's a landowner. There's a lot of farmland out there. But
Yeah.
we have this spectator spot where folks can walk up. It's a side road.
Okay.
And so we have all the spectators kind of go up in this kind of open area from the side road that connects up at that intersection.
That's cool.
And so, the cars will be lined up for a mile, probably people parking to walk out there, but
Watching, sure.
to watch it. But
Yeah.
so that's one spectator spot. So Dalles Mountain, far on the road itself is crazy because that's the one that literally is you're going along the gorge with the cliff on your side.
Yeah.
They're going 100 miles an hour. We usually start out downhill, and then later in the day they come back uphill.
Okay.
But that one's a pretty sketchy road to go 100 miles an hour flying around a corner, and there is a large,
I'm not saying I've done that
divot.
before, but I can understand.
Not in the gravel.
There's some. Anyways.
So a couple of years ago, I was watching Travis Pastrana.
Yeah.
He was talking about it during the pre-drive.
Yeah, when they're doing the recce.
Yeah, where they
Yep.
do their stage notes.
They're doing the notes, yep.
And he's like, it's crazy to think in 2 days or 3 days, I'm going to be here doing 130 miles an hour and there's no guardrail.
Oh, there's no guardrail.
Oh, God, no.
Oh,
No, this is just open, dude. Yeah,
wow. Okay.
yeah. No
Yeah.
guardrails.
Okay. That's a whole nother butt pucker.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's that road. Then we use Maryhill Loops Road, which is that little beautiful piece of tarmac that's
Yep.
right there, right next to the highway.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they keep the gravel tires on, and they go racing up that. And so you see a lot of smoke tires going around.
doubt.
on
God,
that one.
what's the guy's name from Dirtfish that drifted it last year or 2 years ago?
The guy from you're talking about Sam Albert?
Yeah. Was
Or,
no,
well,
no,
he's
no,
one
not
of the-
Sam
oh.
Albert.
Who-
No, one of the guys in the Volvo. He drifted the whole Mary Hill.
The entire thing.
Oh, that's right.
wow.
Gosh, come on, Mike. Nate.
Nate, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Nate has that turbo Volvo, he literally just slid it sideways all the way up.
On
That-
purpose.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say
Yeah.
Takumi Fujiwara.
He's like, I'm not going for best time. I'm going for show.
Yeah, and he did. He put on a show. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, he's the lead instructor up there at Dirtfish. That's
Nice.
right. So we use that road, and then there's another road that doesn't have a spectator spot. That's a little bit farther out, called Oak Flat, and the cars will race up that one this year, I think, instead of downhill. But
Yeah.
it's another one. It's about
How-
I think about 6-7 miles on that one.
How do you guys choose a route in the track that would be good, both from a driver's perspective where they'll be entertained as well as spectator, where they're like, "Oh, this is cool seeing this."
That's both the factors we think of, right? So we just periodically go just exploring roads, and you start looking for everything from dangers to what's the easiest way to get in and out of that stage, homeowners,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. You also have to think of the how it would fit in a loop of stages, because the cars can only have so much fuel in them.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to, and you only have so much time in a day, and so if you want to get all those miles in and get as many stages in, within the day's time that you've got, you have to really factor in, okay, if I'm going to start here, this is a stage we know we're going to do. We want to do this one that's out here, but now we got to transit to that one. How does the finish of that one get me back to service? Oh, wait, now, Bill, that one finishes now farther north.
Okay, so I have
instead
a
of
question
closer.
about that. Before you go to the next stage of Oregon Trail Rally,
Yeah.
do you have support services like pit crews? Can they go
No.
refuel in between from point A to point B?
No.
So they can't. So they actually
do
have
that
to
in
go
service.
back to service.
Yeah.
There's an actual fuel
Okay.
spot in service, right?
Yes. Part of that is because of risk of fire and
Yeah.
cleanup and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. So they have all the tarps down and stuff like in case of any leaks.
Yeah,
And
totally
they
makes
have,
sense,
all
but
the fire
yeah.
extinguishers out there and all that stuff.
Does that
Gotcha.
mean there's not
Okay.
a electric class at all?
No.
Because of the range limit? Okay.
It's not the range limit. It's all kinds of safety factors with electric vehicles that is not
Fire.
quite- yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Not there yet.
it's not even just fire. It's how does somebody know that they can
yeah, you
touch
can't
the
hear 'em.
vehicle,
That's true on that one.
right?
Because
if
if
it's
it's
electrically
grounded out.
charged, the body of the car because of an
Oh.
accident,
Yeah.
you're not going to want to touch that thing.
Oh yeah, no. I didn't even think
So
of that.
yeah, that's so as they've gone to doing like hybrids and like sports car racing and things like that, you'll notice they have actually a big green light on them.
Yep.
And if that goes red,
Don't touch
nobody
the
can
car.
touch the car, and you'll see actually the driver if they have to get out of this happens with Formula
They'll
One
jump.
too. They'll
Yep.
jump out of the car.
And that's
Oh.
where it arcs and then fried
No,
chicken.
that's why. Well, if they touch the ground
Yeah,
and the car, at
and the car at the same
yeah.
time, exactly.
Yeah,
so, so with those concerns, because we're again, when you guys talk about mostly track racing,
Yep.
the track is part of your safety system.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
right.
The car is everything. That's why the cages inside a rally car are the highest level of safety cage that you can have built in a car, because that's it. That's all you got to protect you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no safe barriers or anything like that.
Exactly.
It's like you're dealing with nature now. So if you roll that car off a cliff,
Yep.
you need all the protection you can get.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go. Stage 3. Where's that go?
Well, I guess I wasn't going stage, but yeah. So,
Okay, well,
but yeah.
you're right.
So, anyway, so
Next day.
the loop of stages, yeah. So, Golden Dale will probably be Dalles Mountain and Oak Flat and Mary Hill. Mary Hill's a great spectator spot too.
Yeah.
Love that one because you have that. You're up high and you can look down on it.
Down on it.
So the third day, we go to Dufur, which is just south of the Dalles by about 15 minutes.
Yep.
And those roads out there are really fantastic. Some great spectator spots. One of them is out off of what's called Boyd Loop, and you'll see the cars come into a really tight hairpin, and as they kind of come around this field, you'll be parking in a field, and so you got this long fence line. You kind of watch the cars as they come around, and they got this this S turn area where they dip down and climb back up through it as they kind of go out of view, and it takes a lot of good control through that area because it's kind of twisty and whatnot. So it's always good to see that. And then another spot just before you get to there is a really sharp, almost 180-degree hairpin that they have to hit. And so, watch them hit that breaking point just right to try and make that corner or not make it.
Right.
As the case may be.
Sure.
Especially for the folks that are a little newer to it and things like that. So that's a good spot. And then the other one that's probably my favorite is the Starve Out stage, also known as the road is called Endersby Cutoff, I think. And that one's just right off the main highway.
Oh.
And it's a great spot because you see them coming down the steep hill, and they'll be going 100 miles an hour, then hard on the brakes right in front of the spectators, and take a right turn through a gate before they kind of disappear out into the fields and farmland of that stage.
Wow.
But it's one of the best spectator spots because you can see them coming all the way down this hill.
Yeah.
And it's a great spot to watch them really at speed. So yeah, there's a stage that has that Boyd stage has a jump on it. There's not really a spectator spot for the jump though.
Yeah.
It's just too hard to get in and out of.
Yeah.
But a lot of photographers will be there for that, so you'll
Sure.
see some great pictures.
They'll hike it.
And I actually go out there. I started, it's been 10 years ago now. I started creating distance markers.
Oh.
So first I was doing it just like with a marker, making 10 foot, 20
Yeah.
foot. So every
Yeah.
10 feet, I made a marker
Yeah.
and put a stake in the ground. And so now that's become a big thing.
I'll bet.
Everybody wants to know how far did I jump. So now I have to have somebody stuck there
Yeah,
because we
watching.
usually do that stage 2 or 3 times.
Sure.
And everybody's like, were you there for the second running? Because if I wasn't, I didn't record it. And they're
Yeah.
like, man, that was the longest jump, man.
Please tell me you give out like an Olympic medal for that and be
You
like,
know what? We haven't. I think we need a
You
jump
did
award.
do that,
We
yeah.
do need a jump award. Although Subaru will probably get it every year, but yeah, no, it's
That's
it's
all right.
really
There's
cool
a
to
lot
see
of
them do that.
different Subarus on the track.
There are a lot of Subarus actually. Yes, they're one of the most popular vehicles.
We need to get into what the cars are, but let's hold off on that for a second. So we've talked a lot about stage rally. Is that your favorite type of rally?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hands down.
I think it's probably the most popular.
that's what people mostly think when they think rally, correct?
It's what I do. I think of.
Yeah.
Though you did mention the SCCA type rally, which is
Rally
autocross
cross.
on dirt,
Yeah.
right? I like that they do the cumulative score because my thought was, well, if you're just doing autocross, it's super important to do that first run because by the time you get your second run, that course is chewed up. There's no way you're going as
Right.
fast, right? So cumulative makes sense because everybody's dealing with the same thing.
Yeah, and the conditions change over time
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
all that stuff.
That
yeah.
was one thing I was going to ask about it. With the SEC runs continuously going,
Yeah.
how does the land stay maintained or the course stay maintained?
Doesn't.
So like you're
Exactly.
talking like
It
the
doesn't.
first driver is going to be different than the next driver. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can get chewed up over
So
time.
even in the first run, if you're number 10, I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
a rougher ride than it was if you're number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to an SCCA event for a little bit, but I'm sure in some cases they go out there and like, okay, in between,
Yeah.
groupings, they might go and like, smooth it out with a grader or something.
Yeah.
So they do some of those actually. Some rallycross stuff is actually done at Dirtfish on
Okay.
their course.
Yeah.
And so out there they've got equipment and whatnot that I'm sure can make that so it stays a little more even.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, you don't
That would
want
be
to be
the hard
that first person on the road because there's sweeping
Well, if they're in a field,
right in a field. Yeah.
grassy field or whatever.
Yeah, and even then, it's like that first car, you're going to be on slippery grass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had a thought.
Yeah, you did.
Did it hurt?
He interrupted the entire show for
I
it.
did.
All right. So, boy, where to go from there? I like. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, if we're talking about the courses and maintain and blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
What if competitors on the course or you're starting a session, multiple people are going, and the course dramatically changes, landslide, something where a flash flood. What happens to the event on that? Is that stage then canceled?
Canceled, yeah.
And not,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
They'll
if there's anything that
flag.
blocks the stage completely, and it would cancel the stage.
There was
Okay.
a fire a couple years ago
Yeah.
that shut one of the stages down.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about safety first.
That was
and,
Michelle Miller and somebody.
oh well, yeah. They did close that stage. They might have restarted it before all the cars had to transit. But yeah, that was Michelle. Was she with Sam Albert then? Yeah, I think it was Michelle and Sam, because Sam was racing for the Dirtfish car then, and the car for the engine they were using just kept overheating, and it got too hot, and it went pop as they're going up Dalles Mountain. That was an uphill on Dalles Mountain, and it shut down the stage. We've had Rhiannon Gelsomino in her early years coming out here. She was in a car that caught fire, barely got out. Her hands were burned, and a little bit of her face as she was getting out. She now uses a full face helmet when she's in the car. Ever since then, to help protect her, and then fingerless gloves instead of being barehanded. But she saw as I go through the pace notes. But
Yeah.
it was a scary situation because those cars with, all that race fuel and stuff, they get hot when they start burning.
Oh, yeah.
And so Ken Block's car, his first Kazi, burned out at New England Forest Rally back in 2019. I actually got to ride in that car.
Yeah, I know. I was there.
That was amazing.
I was there. I got to see him get in.
Yeah,
it was
Yeah,
pretty
it was
awesome.
pretty cool.
So a course would still be considered canceled. Like, say if there's only one car left that needs to run the track, it would. Okay.
Still.
Okay.
Yep. Safety first.
Yeah.
So you would cancel that stage.
Okay.
And so what they would do is either figure out a way that person to transit back the other direction. From when they were waiting near the start line. If there was a way to still transit past whatever the incident was, then they just go at transit speed. So, which is basically the public road speed.
Yeah.
What about competitors that are broken down on course? I've seen some videos where people are flying by and you've got multiple cars broken down. Is it they're still encouraged to go fast? They slow down for that? Does that affect their
Right,
time?
exactly. So they have, especially with this Rally Safe, that's one of the things that makes this so cool with these new technologies, is if they're approaching another vehicle on course, they actually get an alert. This box is in their car within their eye line.
Okay.
And, or at least for the co-driver. And I think, I think they have to make it so the driver can see it as well. But it kind of does like a flash warning, like a car approaching.
Yeah.
And they slow down for that. What they're looking for is an OK sign, or the person with the electronic device can actually push OK to make sure they're not injured and things like that. So there's a whole alert system built in as well. It actually can measure G forces on impact and immediately do an SOS. Whether you're hurt or not, if you go over certain Gs, they have to respond.
Gotcha.
There is everything stops. Every car on that stage actually would get an alert that, hey, everybody slow down now because there's been maybe an impact or something.
Full course yellow.
Essentially, yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So what happened is, so cars, off the side, maybe they're doing changing a tire.
Yeah.
Tire completely delaminated, and so they're having to work on that. And the cars are only 1 minute apart. It takes you longer than that to change a tire.
Yeah.
And so that car would come up, and they would slow down and speed up. Well, because all this stuff is tracked of when they started hitting their brake point and they started slowing down when they started speeding up, they'd have all that data from the GPS. And so they can actually credit time back.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's much safer. Totally get that. Yeah.
So that being said, if they have to shut a stage down, do the people
They
that
get
went
whatever the
before it was
last
closed?
fastest time that went through.
Okay,
So everybody would get a specific time for that stage.
got it. Okay,
Yeah.
they don't
so-
just knock
so-
the time off for the first.
No,
group
because
that went through.
remember, Stage Rally is cumulative over the entire weekend.
That's right.
Okay.
And so, as an example, actually, some buddies of mine there in the limited two-wheel drive class, they finished Oregon Trail Rally 3 days, 130 miles of racing, 0.6 seconds apart.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
over
That's
3
crazy.
days of racing.
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
bananas.
That's pretty awesome.
So, but it's all cumulative.
Yeah.
What about with weather conditions? Because I know you guys race through everything, but like, say if it's like raining in the beginning but snowing by the end of the night, or because you're taking a look at the course beforehand to check for dangers and whatnot. But is there like sometimes you would not imagine that coming through?
Luck of the draw.
Yeah, it is a luck of the draw. You will have where even just a rain shower comes through, right? The car that's leading, suddenly has rain comes through, and then it dries up after they leave, and people then suddenly are doing better times than the lead car, because just conditions do change, and that's just all part of rallying. The only thing that would stop a stage from weather is if a safety vehicle could not transit that stage to help somebody.
Okay.
So we have off-road ambulance vehicles.
Okay.
That would go out and help somebody in an incident.
Are those just like a traditional, like say Ford F-450 van or something like that, or are they like specially built like military vehicles?
Not quite like that, but there's out in the rural areas. We actually rent we actually reach out to the local fire departments, and we'll basically pay for one of their ambulance vehicles that's designed for off road.
Okay.
To be out at our event.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's one. I think they called it the Rat, and I can't remember what that stood for, but it was basically like an
Rescue.
all-terrain rescue vehicle,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah,
Is rescue all terrain?
You have no
trauma.
idea.
I don't
even
know.
try.
It's like two T's in it. I don't remember what it stood for, but
turbo.
yeah.
So thinking about how it can affect weather can affect your speeds and that kind of stuff on course, and it could be a midday shower. Those guys are going to get slower times.
Or better, because that can bring the dust down.
Yeah, either one. Yeah, visibility and that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of things that can affect it. But is there a qualifying? Like, how do they get their position
The start order.
in the start order? Yeah.
So lots of controversy over this.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be last on the road and nobody wants to be first. Well, actually, most people want to be first, but you want to be higher up that order. So it's called a speed factor. And this is, if you're brand new and you're just starting, you're a speed factor of 0. They have nothing to go on.
Okay.
Now, they may take into account the type of vehicle you're competing in, as they have an alternate speed factor, which is basically taking like your experience. So if we took somebody that's a well-experienced sports car racer, and he's going to be suddenly hopping in a four-wheel drive rally car, and we have some sense of
This guy's a good driver.
yeah. and what kind of stuff he can, he's done, then they may, they're not going to start him at the very back. They
Yeah.
might put him up, starting, 45th instead of, 60th or something,
Yeah.
something like that. So they'll look at all those factors, try and come up with something that makes sense. There's also what's called a regroup. When we go into service, what'll happen is they make a big block of extra time in there to allow cars to kind of resort as
So
necessary.
that was my question. Then after your initial stage, do they then go out in the next stage in the order that they finished?
They will until they get to service is where they do the regroup. So just before service. So they would do, let's say, a loop of 3 stages.
Okay.
And then they
in
would
the
look
original order.
Yeah. And then if that, if you see somebody, it's like, wow, they caught 3 cars each time. Like, okay, they are obviously much quicker. Because if you think about it, that's a minute to each car. Right?
Yeah.
So you made up more than 3 minutes on a stage.
Yep.
You're going hell of a lot faster than that car in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, so what they would do is they would look at that, the co-driver would then, say, hey, go up to the official and say, I think we need to be farther up the order.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. That is, I drew a blank on the next one. All right. So given, let's talk about classing.
Mm-hmm.
Like how many different
This is
classes? Yeah, this is a deep one.
Yep.
How many different classes are there in stage rally, and how do they divide that?
Yeah, so there's 5 different classes.
Okay.
But some of them are kind of grouped together, and so that's where it gets a little confusing. And,
Yeah.
and so, well, I guess I should say 4. There's 4 classes. There is the open 4-wheel drive. So this is the factory Subaru cars. Okay. This is open 4-wheel drive. This is where you can put not any motor, but because there's displacement limits. But it's like where Sam Albert can put a Ferrari V8, flat crank V8 inside a Subaru.
Open meaning you can pretty much do anything to the vehicle.
Right. There's still restrictions, but you can do pretty much anything.
Within a certain liter.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. A certain amount of performance per liter
Displacement,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, displacement, all that stuff. That's where the Chevy Sonic out in the Midwest by Pat Morrow, he's got a LS V8 in a Chevy Sonic.
Sure. Why not? Nice and light
Right.
little chassis, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, man, please tell me his tailgate says "boom" on the back of it.
Boom, I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that allows all kinds of vehicles of the top class.
Yeah.
And then you've got kind of mixed in with that. They're considered open 2-wheel drive, but they're in a cup.
Okay.
Called RC2. RC2 combines the FIA homologated cars that you would get in the World Rally Championship, the step down from them. These are the cars called Rally 2 or R5 cars.
Okay.
You'll see these things from Skoda, the Ford Fiesta. You'll see, the Hyundai i20, Toyota just now came out with the Yaris that's in the a Rally 2 of the Yaris. You've got so several manufacturers make these Rally 2 / R5 4-wheel drive fully homologated from manufacturer rally car.
Okay.
And they're not quite as fast as the factory Subaru, probably about a second per mile slower. But in a tight, twisty stage, they're more compact.
Still fast
They can
as
be,
shit.
yeah, dude,
Yeah.
yeah. It mind-bogglingly quick.
Yes.
But they are just like a half step down.
Okay.
Then they also mix in with that is some of these cars that are a little bit more affordable version of the Rally 2s. FIA came out with these kits where you can have there's a kit from Orica that is called the R4 kit, and it's got some standardized transmission, computer module, engine, and transmission. You can bolt those into multiple chassis. From you just go and buy a Yaris, and you can bolt in the sequential set of gearbox and all this stuff. It's all designed to fit within this chassis, or Ford Fiesta or whatever. And so that these are the maxi cars or something like. Anyways, it's this R4 kit that you can get. Down in New Zealand, they have the AP4, which is, again, just a more affordable kind of kit that they do in multiple chassis. Asia Pacific Championship, AP4 is where that comes from.
Gotcha.
We've had one of those come over before. You have, what is it? The Polish guys have a car called a Proto. That they can't. It was like all Mitsubishi running gear, I think, inside.
Oh, interesting.
But it just plugged into a Ford Fiesta chassis or something like that. And again, 4-wheel drive, turbocharged. Similar to these R5, but a little bit more affordable version of that. Those have struggled in popularity because as the manufacturer-based FIA one, homologated cars. Those ones, because of the manufacturer backing, their development it keeps exceeding, and they're so much more better, more better.
Okay.
I'm using
More
good English
betterer.
words here. Yes,
Betcha.
but they're so superior that what'll happen is the used one of those when they got on the market, they're as affordable as these AP4s and the R4s and things like that. So you have a market that's kind of struggling because like they wanted to make something affordable, but then when you get to the used car market of these higher end ones, that actually is pretty affordable-ish too.
Yeah.
And when we're talking affordable, I'm talking $250,000, $300,000, versus $600,000.
Sure. Yeah. In the
exactly.
racing affordability.
Yeah, exactly.
Providing the car is not completely used up and destroyed.
And that's happened too. I've seen where one came over. It was a Citroen that David Higgins was going to drive, and the thing was just junk. It was pretty much junk.
Yeah.
So
Okay. And so that's
the open 4-wheel
basically-
drive. So
Okay, that's the open
So
class.
that's the top fastest cars. The next step down would be the limited 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
These call it limited open, but the idea behind that one is something that you could still build yourself. It's still a factory engine, and so minimal things you can kind of do.
Sure.
But not quite production because you can. You need to strengthen them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that would break. They wanted to really get into like when the newer Subarus came out. The chassis was just so much bigger than what it had been with the Impreza era, and so they had to allow people to strengthen suspension and things like that. You still can do whatever suspension you want on these cars, but just the way the mounts were and stuff. So they
breaking that stuff off.
basically. So they had to allow some customization. Then they also wanted these guys to be able to be a little bit faster than what would be just a production car back in the day. And so they allow sequential gearboxes, which actually are more reliable in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
believe it or not.
CVTs.
Okay, not CVT. But yeah, so they've these limited 4-wheel drive cars are still really quick.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the cars you'll see in that are the Subarus and Mitsubishis. But then they also added to it recently. There's a newer class that came out about 3 years ago in the FIA again, and that's what's called a Rally 3. These are the smaller I don't know if you remember, there was like the 2-wheel drive version of like a Fiesta that would race in the World Rally Championship called the R2. And they took that R2 chassis and they made it 4-wheel drive. So it's still the smaller compact. It doesn't have the widening kit that you see with the like R5 Rally 2s.
Yeah.
So they're still the same narrow body, of, let's say, a Fiesta, and there's was a Renault Clio version, I think now, and a couple others that are working on making these Rally 3 cars. Is what the Junior World Rally Championship race in.
Okay.
And so they're 4-wheel drive, but they're this compact little chassis, sequential gearboxes. Again, full manufacturer backing on how they're designed and developed. And so, but not the price of a Rally 2.
Right.
Yeah.
The Rally 3s are the step back from that, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're talking about, new car, I'm guessing 250 grand, something like that. And they're trying to get those cars to compete with the limited 4-wheel drive home builts they let those have a little more power, but they're heavier and they're not factory,
Yeah, the
design.
balancing.
Yeah.
it
So
out there.
they're trying to find the balance performance between those two.
Yep.
But those are in the same class. So that's all in the limited 4-wheel drive class.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. Next class.
Next class, we'll stick with 4-wheel drive one more time.
Okay.
The NA 4-wheel drive. This is a naturally aspirated 4-wheel drive cars. So no turbos allowed, but it is technically an open class. So they can do a lot to these cars.
Engine displacement.
Engine displacement's kind of interesting. I mean, still has to be an engine that was from that manufacturer.
Okay.
So the vast majority of the cars in the NA 4-wheel drive class you'll find are like the GC and GD Imprezas, right? 2.2, 2.5 liter 4-cylinders stringing out, running high RPM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can meet that class and do an H6 swap.
Which
Okay.
an H switch?
You can take the
8.6.
3-liter horizontally opposed 6-cylinder
Okay.
out of the, let's say, the Super Outback came with those. You could get those in some of the other cars,
Okay.
and it will fit
Okay.
tight, but it will fit inside the chassis of an Impreza.
And that's legal.
And that is 100% legal.
All right.
So
so-
you're not limited to engine size in that one? Like, say you could put a V10 Viper motor in there?
No,
No,
you can't.
okay.
Again,
It has to be
from
the same
manufacturer.
manufacturer.
Has to be from the same manufacturer.
Yeah, there's some limitations there.
So a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah. So put
know,
in like a
they
Shelby Predator motor. In there.
Godzilla.
Let's maybe don't get carried away. A 4.6.
Okay, 4.6.
But they
don't bring that up.
But
Why
they,
would you?
But they don't make a 4-wheel drive. So NA 4-wheel drive had to come 4-wheel drive.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah,
All
so
right.
it's kind of this weird, like, it's kind of open class but kind of not.
Is that some years matter at all?
The year of it matter?
Yeah. So because Ford does make a good amount of NA 4-wheel drive trucks and SUVs, like the Explorer back in '97 when that was an all-wheel drive one, not a selective 4-wheel drive that you could have, and you could even put a 5.0 into there.
And they
Why
did
would you
come
do
with a
that? You
4.6,
could just
didn't
go
they?
get a.
No, they came with a 4.6.
Cyclone.
They came with a 5.0, but they were an all-wheel drive truck, not a 4-wheel drive selective. That's something you can use.
Well, I don't know.
But anyways,
I mean,
but something
I'm sure
like
there's
that,
rules,
you could
but
put
Yeah.
if it's something like that, you would be able to put then since it's a Ford, it's an all-wheel drive. You can put theoretically a factory 760 horsepower engine in it. Correct?
I'm not one of the rule makers, so I'm not sure what there's still displacement limits.
Yeah.
Actually, here I can give you this little chart here that kind of goes over.
See,
he came prepared.
There you
yeah,
go. Look at that
he's
picture.
way
It'll
more
show you the different
prepared than you are.
classes, NA4 and all that, and it'll show you displacement and all that. There you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
And weight.
Despite our weird
But
tangents.
weight is in kilograms, so you'll probably be confused.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of. if you listen to any of our other episodes, I'm kind of the guy who's like, "Ooh, how do I modify? What do I put?
Yeah.
How do I get to do stuff?"
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
So that's NA 4-wheel drive, and yeah, you find a lot of fast guys in that because these cars are lightweight too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that makes them fun. And you'll see there's a young kid, literally just lives just up the way up on over by Newburgh. His name's Cooper Anderson, and he first started out co-driving for his dad because he wasn't old enough to drive yet. He was 15, so he was co-driving.
Okay.
Then as soon as he got 16, or gosh, maybe even then when he was 15, he was because his dad was in the driver.
Got a permit.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's
got a
legal.
permit,
Yeah.
and he was legal.
Yeah.
And then he was driving. So the kid's been doing this for a little. He's 22 now, 21. Mm-hmm. I guess he just turned 21 this last year. That's right.
Happy birthday.
Yes, exactly. But that kid is so freaking quick.
Yeah.
And he's gotten everything out of the 2.5 liter NA car that you could possibly get. He actually was on the podium right behind the only cars faster than him were the H6 swaps. And so
Wow.
what's he going to have for this year? An H6 swap.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how well he does against the couple of guys that are often much faster. So,
Wow.
and that's just because of power, not because of skill at that
Skill.
point. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, those guys are also skilled, not to
Right,
say
right.
anything wrong about them, but they have that little power advantage. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it'll be interesting.
I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah. Then you've got open 2-wheel drive, and because 2-wheel drive, you kind of, there's only so much power you can get to the wheels.
Right.
I was actually looking at the rules earlier today, just kind of like, hey, what is open two-wheel? What are kind of it's like? Must be two-wheel drive. Nothing else.
Wow.
So
it
whether it's
doesn't matter.
turbocharged or big motor or whatever, it doesn't matter because
Front
you're just
wheel,
going to burn
rear wheel
tires.
doesn't matter. Just drive it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Mustang.
So you've got.
I've got
yeah.
no. Trust me.
Well, there's Mustangs that have
Yeah.
competed. Sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas.
Yeah. We have a lot of BMW M3s
Yeah.
that compete. So those are fun. God,
Yeah,
these
for
sound
sure.
so good.
What about mid-engine cars in that? Is there many anymore? Or are they just kind of?
Well, they used to do that a lot, like
Yeah.
with the Lancia and stuff like that, right? Those were rally-based car.
The Lancia Stratos is what you're thinking of back in the 70s.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty rare car.
It is now, but I mean, it was a
It
rally
was
car,
one that was
mid-engine.
very popular back then.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a little Ferrari. Was it V6 that they had in the back of those things?
Yep.
Yep.
So-
And but yeah, there apparently actually one or a couple of them actually raced here in the United States at what was then called the Press on Regardless Rally. That was in Michigan.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. But now it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're.
But
These aren't
so it's a
mid-engines.
rare sight to see a mid-engine car racing
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
Okay.
There was
There's
there was
not
a
a-
guy that was supposedly going to build an all-wheel drive Lamborghini and take it out there, and then
Yeah.
never happened.
On a side
Just
tangent,
vaporware.
one of the things I eventually plan, I don't know when, maybe probably 10 years from now.
Side tangent.
I know.
What?
Of doing rallying, because I feel like one
We
of
don't
the
do that
best
here.
ways to get, become a driver is to be getting used to the dirt as well as pavement, But that being said, the car I would want to do would be a mid-engine car starting from. Like-
Why?
'Cause he doesn't know any better.
No, well, a lot of people say that. I feel like if you can master a mid-engine and then go and master an all-wheel drive or a front-wheel drive, just start from the
Oh,
back.
so you mean specifically mid-engine rear-wheel drive?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's I want to. I'm always challenging myself as a driver and trying to find new challenges how to improve.
So one thing I'll throw at you though
Yeah.
is when you're out in these elements, you're beating the shit out of these cars.
I can believe that.
How easy is it to work on a mid-engine car versus a front-engine car? Because you're gonna be working on it a lot.
I can believe that.
So just got to factor that
You
in.
gotta remember, I'm a Ferrari guy and I've got a lot of Fiats. So used to throw the wrench at something.
All right, just saying. Just saying. That's something to consider.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of space in that motor,
I
that
get
engine
it.
compartment to work on.
I get it. But
That's why you make it out of tube frame, so everything's open and easy
Yeah.
to get to.
exactly. But personally, that's what I was saying is like mid-engine. That's what interests me. Is I know it's not used much anymore, but I feel like trying to figure out the weight balance going around a corner is definitely going to be a challenging aspect
Yeah.
of it. And as I was wondering if anyone
I'm
does
not
race with
sure I would look at that for driving on dirt. Honestly,
it. Okay.
I would if I were you.
The
I
weight
would look
transfer
at
on that would be a little challenging on
Yeah.
a loose surface, I think.
front wheel
I don't
drive
know.
or all wheel drive is probably where I would start, and NA, I think that would be the
A lot of
direction I
people
would go.
start with front wheel drive, and a lot of that is getting understanding how to momentum drive through the corners. You don't need a lot of power. They're hard to screw up.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the guys, the guy that co-drove for me for the Norwester TSD, he competed once in a little Geo Metro.
That's amazing.
No joke. 3-cylinder Metro that was
good.
built as a rally car, and you just pinned the throttle the whole time, right? But you learn that momentum driving. Then once you get more traction with all-wheel drive car or more power, you end up being that much faster because you
Yeah.
know how to hit those apexes. You know what to expect from the car.
Yes.
And so it just makes you a better driver actually if you start with something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, part of the problem is the front end on a mid motor rear wheel drive car. It's really light.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
So
floating around.
Trying to
It
keep
wants to
that
push.
Yeah, trying to keep that down in gravel and turning a corner
Yeah.
Challenging.
would be really
I guess
challenging.
You're gonna be
it's
on
not
and off the
impossible.
throttle a lot.
No, it's not
though,
impossible.
because I mean I have experience with UTVs, rear engine.
Yeah.
I mean you can pitch those around a corner and slide them just as well as any other.
Yeah.
It's just a different application of power and how the car feels coming into corners. If you're used
Tried
to
having
driving,
a class of UTVs for a while.
yeah,
Oh.
I don't doubt it
Because they're so popular.
fun
But
as
the
all
problem
get out.
is that they're not street legal, and
Yes.
there's only a couple of states where you can actually
You have to do the course
Arizona.
course
drive.
stuff. or-
Yeah.
Some states you can drive them
Yeah.
on the road.
Yeah.
I think it was
Arizona's
Missouri,
one.
I think, was one.
Nevada allows it too.
Right. Well, yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
a rally in Nevada right now, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So
There are
certain
some
states
places.
where we can get away with that, and
Yeah.
so then they could actually do the transits. But that was, or we also tried. Well, what if we trailered it and allowed just for that class they could trailer it to the start of the stage and stuff?
Yeah.
And it just didn't
That'd
work.
be
Got
a
complicated,
hassle.
I'm sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if you had closed course, like closed lands or whatever, you could probably get away with it. Or
And
you
we
know,
had some
the
crashes where
SCCA
the cages just aren't as strong.
Yeah.
no,
that was
factory
the-
cages are not as good.
And we then once you start adding in rules to beef up
Yeah.
those cages, the advantages of what is a lightweight little razor or something like that isn't so great anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways,
They're fun to drive regardless. But
yep.
But anyways,
okay,
So
so,
that was open two-wheel drive.
open two wheel.
Okay.
And then you've got limited two-wheel drive. Limited two-wheel drive is the closest to stock that you're going to get, more production class. There's, again, Ford Fiestas. I've seen Fiat 500s. I've seen, yeah,
The Honda Fit.
Yep.
the Honda Fit back in the day. There's a Civic. I mean, I should.
Would the smart car
probably look-
classify that class?
I mean, it probably would.
As long as you can put a cage in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Could you still get
we-
inside the car
Yeah.
with the cage?
Here's a stupid
It's an
question. Are you allowed
XL
to have
cage.
Are you allowed to have a cage on the outside as a competitor, or does it have to be inside?
It has to be inside the
It has
car.
to be
Has to
inside.
be
Sorry,
inside
dude.
the code? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Mazda RX-7. Oh, that's open too. Let's see. I'm actually looking at the entry list for up in Washington for
Okay.
the Olympus Rally. So the entry, they already opened up their entries.
Nice.
And so if I look down here, some other limited twos. BMW 325 from 1987. Let's see here.
So that's your basic entry level first timer
yeah.
class.
Yeah.
What's the
usually.
cost of entry for that class?
Well, so
And I don't mean
that-
entry fees.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you want to get into this and you actually want to get into rallying, number one, I'd maybe try doing one of the rental programs. There's a guy named Michael Hooper out of the East Coast, but he comes to a lot of West Coast events. Actually, his family lives in Anacortes or something like that. So so he usually comes out west as well, and he rents limited two-wheel drive Lexus LS 250s.
Wow.
And they're just a great platform. They're well balanced and they're strong.
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of the parts I think you could just like put on there were like from the Toyota Tundra or something like their Tacoma part. I mean, there's
believe that.
some stuff just bolt right on that are nice and tough. And so he's built these cars. He's developed it himself over the years and competed himself in an open two-wheel drive version, the LS350. But that's a good way to start. Is one of the rental programs. There's supposed to be more and more folks starting to open up rental stuff as time goes on.
Yeah.
But as far as purchasing a car,
Yeah.
it's all that safety equipment and all those things.
Sure.
So a used one, I'm guessing your kind of starting point is 35 to 50K.
Yeah, for used something that's
Yeah.
just going to get you out there.
Exactly. But then you're going to want, spare parts. You got to also have, all your own gear. You're going to need to have a headset that, a helmet that has, a radio communications in it.
Communication, yeah.
You're going to have, all the right, stuff to wear for safety and whatnot, your fire suit and all that. You got to,
Is fire suppression required in the cars?
yes, it is.
All right.
Yep, that's actually a newer thing.
Yep.
We had enough car fires that we wanted the time for somebody to get out of the car. We don't care about saving the car.
Yeah.
No,
We-
it's
the people
about
inside.
Yeah, it's about the time.
Exactly.
What about an external kill switch? Is
Yep.
that required? Okay.
Yep. That is on all the cars.
Okay.
I'm sure there's all kinds of rules we could read. But
Yeah, we can go into that.
I can share you
don't need
with
to
you
get
the
there.
link, and
Yeah,
there.
that's-
Actually, if you go to American Rally Association's website,
There you go.
search them on Google. You can. The rule book is there.
so cost of,
Just go to competitors and look at the rules, and there it is.
Cost of entry is not low. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. It's,
Yep.
I was going to ask, with the rental program, do you know if that already comes with a co-driver, or is that something you bring a friend in there, or if,
right.
Yeah.
That's separate. I don't know if somebody tries to bundle one in or not, but
Okay.
but yeah, I would suggest that going with more skilled co-driver maybe to start with.
Okay.
That because you're making these things called pace notes.
Mm-hmm.
So before the event, something that Jeremy brought up was you're going to go out and you're going to look at the roads. You're going to scout the roads in advance.
Yeah.
And make these notes that tell you where the corners are because you're going about this blind crest.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know if the road's going to go left or right. You can't see.
Yeah.
And if you're on the wrong side of the road, you could go off that cliff we were talking about before,
Yeah.
right? So we don't want that happening.
Yeah.
So having somebody that's experienced to help you in writing those notes for that first time can be
Mm-hmm.
very helpful. And so you'd probably want somebody experienced maybe in that co-driver seat. And there's a lot of folks that love doing that and would want to help you out.
And that's one thing I was going to ask on top of that. Do most co-drivers start as co-drivers, or start as drivers then migrate to co-drivers?
Usually it's co-drivers or co-drivers.
Okay.
They have a love for. It's kind of like with our organizing committee. These people get a high off of. Some of them maybe are aspiring drivers because it's cheaper to go drive. If somebody's paying you to be in the seat.
Yeah.
But a lot of cases, they really love the organization. I mean, the thrill of being in that seat. I mean, they're part of the team, right?
Yeah.
And they're organizing the time and all that stuff. And it's just a different high.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another way to be involved.
That's a
yeah.
huge amount of trust too.
Yeah.
It is. It is. The top drivers, it's not just the top driver, it's the team of driver and co-driver. You get in sync.
Yep.
When they're just, you can actually hear it when a driver and co-driver are just kind of in sync. If you watch some of the onboard videos,
Yeah.
you can tell it's almost like second nature.
Oh, yeah.
They're so programmed in with each other.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can tell the ones that are very comfortable too because the tone of voice doesn't change. They're very calm.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's just clicking along. The driver's doing what he's told to do, and everything's just working. It's when they get excited that it gets interesting.
So,
For sure.
Yeah.
So here's a question, because we're talking about communication back and forth. Is music allowed in the car?
No.
No.
Like, is there a rule against that? Like, legitimately?
Maybe not on the racing stage,
Okay.
but in between, oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Oh, people listen to music all the damn time.
Okay.
Not while you're racing.
Not while you're racing.
I'm one of those drivers who have to have my music playing.
Your co-driver will hate you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yelling louder than the music as they're going by.
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
even stand it anymore.
I know.
How does that work then with people who are deaf then? Does that and
Hand
like
signals. They don't listen to
legitimately? Is that
That is not something actually we've had. We haven't had anybody that's deaf that I can recall of that's competed. I know of folks that have had they're wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
And so they had hand controls.
Okay.
And whatnot. So paraplegics I know have competed. I don't know of anybody that's either deaf or obviously nobody blind.
Yeah.
I could see a deaf person being able to
Because-
do it with hand signals.
I think
They
you
could
would
work something
actually,
out.
well, but you have to look at the road. So I think
Yeah.
you'd have to have maybe something that was on a screen in front of them.
Peripheral.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe,
don't know.
I could envision
Yeah.
that you would have like some sort of like display thing you'd have on the dash, just within their line of sight that
Yeah.
can like show a little, kind of like on the video games.
Right.
Right. It would show like the arrow left, arrow right,
Right.
and some sort of like,
Slow down.
Something that they would.
I
be
guess
able to
that's the only thing I can
understand.
think of, but
Right.
I've yet to see.
Yeah, we've had some people in autocross actually been deaf, and typically what I've noticed is that they'll be talked to before and after that, and their interpreter will, because when they're on the course, they're focused on there,
Right.
But yeah, that's in rally, you're 100% focused, trying to figure out going through,
Right.
So yeah, something interesting.
Well, and back in the day before pace notes, the co-driver was really about making sure you're on the right route. But it wasn't pace notes; it was just route notes, and you were still just driving what you see. So
Yeah.
until we got into the 1980s, there was nothing but route notes, and so
So
it
they
just
did.
knew that
There was
like
no
there
pre-run.
was no pre-run,
Got it. That's cool.
or if there was, it wasn't something you made notes for every corner.
Right.
It was I knew at this intersection I'm going to stay to the right.
Yeah.
thought just came to squirrel brain just for a hot second. Remember?
Well, just say it.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain the whole lead up to the
Okay.
thought process.
I'm wondering if someone is deaf and a rally racer, if they do it like one of the ways they would do it is with a pressure system. So as they're driving, like in their seat, they've got.
I don't know why he needs to figure
I
this
know.
out.
Why,
It's like,
yeah,
again,
why are we
why are we
inventing the
doing this?
fucking wheel right now?
I don't know of anybody that's
Yeah.
attempted.
Well,
so.
it's just something.
I got an idea.
I am all
You
about being
need to
inclusive.
go. Yeah,
because
exactly.
that way the driver can still stay
I
focused.
tell you what,
Yeah.
you go down to the deaf school and you pitch the idea to them. See if anybody wants to go
well,
rally
I'm-
racing.
no,
and you,
I'm not just saying.
hold on,
Okay.
you can be the co-driver.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they will kick
Okay.
you out of the car in 10 minutes.
I'm not just saying just for me and things. I'm legitimately curious if someone was like that. Like for example, say if I get in
You
an accident
can
and
be
become deaf,
curious.
and that's still a goal I want to do in the future.
You have
is that
sidetracked
something
us so
Jesus.
far out of the realm, dude.
Okay,
Okay.
keep track of the time. I'm going to clip it out the
right.
last 10 minutes. Just kidding. All right. We're going to move on from the
Okay.
deaf rally racing. So say Grant
Hi.
goes and buys a rally car.
Oh boy.
He's going to get into this thing.
Is it the Mustang?
You can do a Mustang.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. He turns his most favorited Mustang into a rally car.
You know that's part.
Cages it up. It's all good to go. He shows up at the races. What can he expect
Last place.
besides that?
He's going to expect to, first of all, go to a rookie training. So that'll be talking a lot about the safety and the protocols that are involved, whether it's just you being safe out there, understanding, what happens if an incident or if you come upon an incident. There's a whole, when we're out there, there's a system in place because what's going to happen is if somebody goes off the road, the first person that's going to see them is the next competitor, not an emergency vehicle.
yeah.
Okay. And so there's a whole protocol that you have to follow. So a lot of focus on safety and how to, know where you're supposed to be in line. They're going to probably, you're going to get a lot of actually hand holding from people. Like I said, the camaraderie, you get a lot of people just start asking around and you're going to get a lot of help. When you get to that first stage and you're queuing up before you go into the ATC, the time control to get into that start of that stage, cars will, again, we give a lot of time for transit time.
Yeah.
So they all arrive early, but you don't want to enter the zone until your minute. So the cars kind of stop all before that. And co-drivers and drivers get out all the time, start chatting with each other. And so they'll give you pointers. They'll tell you what to look out for, things like that. So you'll get a lot of help out there. So yeah, we get a lot of first timers. Actually, Oregon Trail, one thing that we try and do specifically is we do a special deep discount for first time rallyists.
Nice.
So first time doing the event. And we want to bring more people into it.
Yeah. And is there any, for first timers, is there any events that they should specifically go to? Like, what's the best jump in point?
That's actually a really good question. I'm partial to our event, but
Absolutely.
But as far as first thing I would do is really just do one of the rally schools.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them across the country. We've got, of course, Dirtfish that's up there in Snoqualmie, Washington. Over in New Hampshire, you've got Team O'Neill is out that way, and then down in Texas, you've got Rally Ready Rally School down there. Okay. All of them are very good. I know the folks from all of them.
Yeah.
And they will give you a lot of understanding of not just driving the car, but about how the events function. They then, in addition to that, the kind of the next level, I would say, is special co-driving from the Gelsaminos, Oz Rally Pro. This is Alex and Rhiannon Gelsomino. Rhiannon's the co-driver for Travis Pastrana. Alex, he's currently, he used to be Ken Block's co-driver for forever. And then now he is co-driving for Connor Martell, who is Lance Smith's son-in-law. Lance Smith is the guy that owns Vermont Sports Car. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Keep it in the family.
Yeah, keep it in the family a little bit. So yeah, fast drivers, and they know rallying forwards, backwards. They've been all over the world doing this, right? Doing World Rally Championship events, doing local events, and all that stuff. And so they offer classes, and if you get hooked up with one of their classes, they can teach you a lot of things. A lot of stuff I see with first timers is that they get a lot of penalties because they just don't know how it works.
Right.
And sometimes they can put you in a bad situation, and then you're like, oh, I'm behind, and then you start kind of pushing too hard because you messed up something, and then you end up messing up on the course, which is expensive. It's
What's the
good
most
to have
common
some-
penalty that people experience?
Usually it's entering into a control too early or too late.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not paying attention to how those times work. That's a big part of it.
Okay.
It's transiting and missing your turn. You just get caught up, just talking to each other and talking about the last stage you did, and you're just all amped up on adrenaline. That's the other thing, is you just lose focus.
Yeah.
And so you got to learn how to get back and focus on the task of hand, but getting from point A to point B the right way. One of those things is, for us is, we want you to transit a certain way, because that maybe goes around a way that doesn't go by the house that
That's
doesn't like
complaining.
us.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
Down certain roads we shouldn't be on.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Exactly. So the transits are equally as important to follow the route as it is the racing route.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Then, kind of along those same lines, you've got pro drivers and newbies
Yeah.
out there at the same
That's one
time.
of the special things about rallying.
That's
too,
crazy.
Is
That's interesting.
you, as a first timer, get to race the same road at the same time as Travis Pastrana.
Yeah, that's
How
nuts.
cool is that, right?
It's cool. It's nuts at the same time, because how intimidating is that? I would think.
I guess
for
with
brand
Travis,
new?
it's not, because
No.
Well, he's a pretty
so
cool guy, but, I mean-
Brandon Seminook is a little more intimidating just because he's so quiet. You don't know. It's like, is he happy or not?
But any of those guys, they are so fast and so
focused.
focused.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so then to be out there and probably your nerves are on high, the stress level's pretty good. You're like trying to do everything right, and that's not even the driving part. Seriously,
Exactly, yeah.
Like
It's the lead up,
Yeah,
right?
just trying
That
to
build up.
be in the right place at the right time. I know that's stressful. So that's kind of crazy to think that this is not just your backyard rally.
Exactly.
This is a pro deal.
And now there's also regional events. Actually, if you were going to start, that's what I would recommend, is do
Okay.
a regional rally before
That's
you do
what
a
I was trying to
national
get
event.
at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
That's right.
So up in Washington, they have what's called Tour de Forest.
Okay.
Tour de Forest is usually done in the fall, September, October range. And we have a event we just started doing as a regional rally. We're actually out over by the Vernonia area, between Vernonia and St. Helens.
Oh,
The
yeah.
roads out
Yeah,
there.
know right where that's at.
Yep.
Yep.
And so there's a couple roads out there that we've been working with Columbia County, and they want us out there.
Nice.
Cool.
And
Bring
so
the tourism in.
exactly.
Yep.
And you get 50 cars, regional guys, 40, whatever. It's not a huge car count usually for the regionals, but to them, having all their hotels full for a weekend is a big deal.
You bet. And the restaurants and the stores and the gas
Exactly. Yep.
station.
And you think about it, for every team, you got a driver, a co-driver, at least one crew person.
Yep.
And maybe their family's visiting and
Yeah,
all
so
that
you
stuff.
got 4 or 5 people per team.
Per team.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that adds up in a hurry. And
Absolutely.
then they all start buying food and all that stuff. And so,
good for the
we've
economy.
done some kind of candidate events this last fall. So it's in November
Mm-hmm.
that we're doing this. So it's kind of wet, but actually adds another dynamic to it. But the regional events are low key. It's not as high stress.
That's where I would start. I wouldn't want to start with one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Give me a
It's
little event to get
It's
my feet
one day.
Yeah. Yep.
We did this last time. We did it as what's called a rally sprint, which is basically it was shorter miles. We only did one road and we did it 4 times in a row.
Okay.
But it's, again, getting the community also ready for us and how we do things, getting ourselves used to the area,
Yep.
how the transits would work and all that. So it's just kind of like a candidate event there. And then this coming up this November, we're going to make it into a proper regional rally, which has to meet that minimum of like 35, 40 miles or whatever it is. And it'll be multiple roads. And stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds more
But just a little one-day event.
attainable.
Yeah, very
attainable. Something less stressful, less,
Is a regional event like, if someone is starting out and coming through, is there a caged up car? Is that what you have to bring, or can say I went and just bought a Ford Fiesta off the parking lot and I'm ready to come out and drive? Or is that
Has to
something
be
you have to?
caged.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
that something you have to go like to the autocross ones? or
So
the travel-
it has to be a log-booked rally car.
Okay.
So there are certain standards that you have to actually have it approved by. There are certain folks that are allowed to logbook these cars.
Is that like a private company you'd find in like any city or
No, these are within the American Rally Association. They have people that are designated people that can sign off as what's the term? Like a tech inspection.
Yeah. Okay.
They'll go through and make sure all the safety stuff is where it should be. That
Meets-
that meets
meets
the
criteria,
standards.
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then they will officially give you a logbook, sign off on it, and say
You're good to go.
You're good to go.
Okay.
And then there's certain types of incidents you can run into where, hey, they put in the logbook that you have to have a certain thing fixed or you can't compete again. So they will ask for your logbook
Okay.
every event.
Okay.
Now, who puts those items in the logbook? the event staff, or
I believe
like,
so. Yeah, I believe it would be an event
Okay,
steward.
so
There's
if
always
they're
a steward.
Steward. So yeah, if you had an accident or something happened, or they
So let's
they
say the
teched
cage is
your
bent.
car, and found something.
So yeah, there's a basic tech inspection that happens before the event.
Yeah.
There's just kind of a checklist that there might be a steward that's on hand there, but usually it's just volunteers. They know a checklist to go through, and if they see something that seems weird from the standard stuff, they'll go and maybe ask that person to come and verify something.
Got it.
But for the most part, they're just looking, make sure all the safety equipment's there. Horn works, blinkers work, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just a simple checklist they go through.
Yeah.
As far as the full log booking of a car, it's going to be more detailed.
So if someone is to buy a car and wants to go to an event, how much time prior should they be like, okay, car's bought, 6 months of the event, that's plenty of time to go get someone to fully inspect it, get the logbook done and stuff? Or is it something like you need to be, you could do that the day before?
Oh no, it's going to be 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to figure out how to get to that person, get them to look through it, and then as far as you getting the time to get it properly caged, with somebody that can do that,
Yeah,
the
and
right
that's-
way and all that. You're probably talking a year-long project for a car.
With all that said, with tech inspection stuff, is there anything that's considered like a Lemons rally racing circuit at all or anything?
Not with stage rally, because again, we don't have the circuit as part of our safety system.
Yeah.
So there is no
Safety's too big of an issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can't.
we've had people hurt and killed,
Right.
Yeah.
and we don't want that.
That's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay. So yeah, we've kind of beat around the bush of how to get it started and that kind of stuff. What advice would you, since you're promoter of said rallies, what advice would you give somebody that's interested in getting started?
I think the very first thing I would do is, understanding how the events kind of run and whatnot is actually I would volunteer first.
Yep. Yep.
That gets you because again, I can tell you, it's this traveling circus.
Sure.
Is the way the rallies work, and work a time control. You actually get to talk to the drivers and co-drivers too when you're doing that. And that just gives you a better understanding of just
How it
the
all works.
function of how a rally works. It is so imperative to get that in your brain
Yeah.
before you even get to the driving part.
Yeah.
And then from there, the next thing I would do is, take one of those classes, maybe up at Dirtfish, so if you're in the local area. And that, again, gets you that understanding the loose surface, what that's like. Those are all experienced rallyists up there. They've competed in events, the instructors up there, and they can give you a lot of pointers. And so definitely a good resource to go up and try that out. And then, I would suggest probably a first event, doing maybe a rental. That's probably the best way, probably to just get your first one out of the way.
Yeah.
Before you want to, get into building. But if you're just a tinkerer and you want to build something, I mean, have at it.
yeah.
It's just going to take you a while.
Yeah.
Be prepared to spend some time.
Well, and not just that. Whatever you decide to build, and you think you know all the ins and outs, once you
don't.
get it on a stage, you find you go, you spent all this money to get all ready. You do a stage and a half, and you broke something.
Yeah.
and you're done.
Yep.
And then you end up start chasing things to resolve.
Yeah.
And these folks that have the cars that have been well developed, even the guys that are doing those rentals, they don't want to work on it all the time either. They know what stuff breaks.
Yeah.
And what's a challenge with this stuff, and you probably know this with all the other cars that you build, when a car is a system, right? So you beef up one area, make it stronger. You've now moved that energy stress somewhere else. It doesn't just dissipate.
Yeah.
Right? And so the system of parts, you think like, oh yeah, I fixed it. Yeah, that's going to solve that problem. Oh wait, now I have a problem over here.
Yeah.
Oh wait, now I beefed that up. Now the problem's over there.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly kind of chasing that as you kind of develop your own build. And so, granted, there's a lot of help out there using less social media and stuff like that. Asking folks, talking to the community when you're at the events, they will give you a lot of pointers on stuff that they've built. So that definitely helps. And then the other thing I would say is the other one would be, if not renting, get a used one.
Yeah.
Get an existing vehicle
Yeah.
that's already been shaken down. But you also want to have somebody, take a look at it, make sure it's not a piece of crap.
Yeah.
But if it's one that's already been through that work of development, that's a good way to go.
Okay. In terms of those schools, do they all pretty much have the same teaching methods, or every single one has their own kind of feeling to them? So if you go to, say, Dirtfish, it feels different than Texas and New Hampshire. Like,
I think the fundamentals are probably the same. I know the folks from all of them. I haven't been to all of the places. But they're going to be a heavy focus on weight transfer and car control. What I know about Dirtfish is like you get in the 4-wheel drive cars, they put intentionally bald tires on the rear because they want that rear end to step out and you to understand how that feels and whatnot. So you don't have to go as fast to get that same loose surface feel, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And whatnot, and learn how to counter steer and all that stuff. So there's definitely that. A lot of it is focus on where to look while you're and how to hear the notes, and you're planning for 2 corners ahead, right? You can't even see that corner yet, and you got to make sure the car is positioned coming out of that corner just before that to be ready for that next one. And so you're really planning way ahead. So it's getting that thought process in, hearing notes through the radio, and then understanding the car control with it.
Is there any good way to practice for that? Like, just say people that like thinking ahead to like getting that real image in your mind. Do any drivers or anyone have like recommendations? Be like, oh, meditation, try this, or be like listening to just tracks that people are doing via audio and imagining what they're going through.
I know as far as like what competitors do is they'll they record their recce and then they will speed it up.
Oh,
and you can play it back at a faster speed and kind of get
try to process it
processing
quicker.
of the timing.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's one thing that you
That's
can do.
cool.
Okay.
So that's kind of a little trick.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the best ones. One of the Gelsaminos told me that one. So there you go.
Huh.
Interesting.
What about? I like that question though. What about somebody that's never done it to try to train and get used to hearing those commands? And I mean, sim
to be
racing?
honest, I was gonna say the video games.
Yeah.
Was it Codemasters was bought by EA Games, but they've got their version of the WRC series, and it's calling notes. Dirt Rally 2 was the previous one. These are great games that and you can actually adjust the speed of the timing of when the notes are. You can make them more faster, so you hear it sooner versus later.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's still like some parts when I played it's like I set it to where I could hear the note well in advance, and for the speed I was going, it was still a little too late to break into that corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it's because of the vehicle that I chose in the game or whatever, and with a different one, maybe it would stop faster. But still, it's just one of those things that there can be frustration points, but
Still practice.
you're still practicing through that.
Yeah.
And that does still work.
Okay.
That's cool.
So the one thing I would say is a lot of it's the driving, and a soft surface is much different than driving on a hard surface.
Oh, definitely.
So
45 feels like 75.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yep.
even if you're trying to get into stage rally, I would probably go and do a whole bunch of rallycross.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
Rallycross.
just
There's a lot of folks that start there.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I didn't mention that. That's definitely a way to get that that car control and understanding the loose surface. If you're really going to go through that whole stepping stone all the way, maybe it would just be take that car. Maybe it's the car that you're building. Maybe you are going to be that grassroots guy that's going to build a car in a rally car. Well, there are not a lot of requirements for rallycross. You just have to have a helmet, right? Yeah. And so as you're building out that car, you can actually play with it.
Go
on a
break
loose
some
surface.
parts there.
Exactly.
That can be your shakedown.
Yeah.
For sure.
Essentially, yeah. Granted, those things are designed that you'll never go over 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right? That's the rules of SCCA Rallycross is they make so many corners in there you can never get up to a super fast speed. Whereas your first stage rally stage, you're going to have parts of it where you're just wide open.
Yeah.
And that's a little more intimidating. But
For sure.
But yeah, you can learn a lot of those fundamentals definitely with doing Rallycross, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Okay. What about on the opposite end? Is there anything you would recommend for people not to do trying to get in rally? Like, for example, the friends are like, I'll just drive some backcountry roads and I'll get used to rallying on dirt that way. That's
Probably
first of
one.
all, never do that.
Okay.
Not only is that dangerous because that's why we have all the safety equipment.
Yeah.
But you're also going to piss off locals. And so when you go out and you spectate and you see the roads that we go out and compete on, going out there later and thinking that you can just go drive your regular car on those really fast, we could lose those roads and we won't have an event again.
Yeah.
Don't do that, please.
Public service announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
That is our biggest problem with our sport is getting roads.
Absolutely.
Without the roads, we have no event. And we're always teetering on the edge. The reason why we keep going back to the same roads and the same places is because we can't find others. We used to be in the Hood River area. Well, Hood River area, the county thought they could use us as a profit maker. They thought we made a lot of money. We struggle to break even because we pay for the
they
roads
price
to be
you
repaired.
out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a local guy that we knew that, so we found out who it was that did the grading and repairing of the forest roads, and we contracted directly with him. Okay, we're gonna have a rally event, and he charged us much, and okay, we can have the roads repaired.
Okay.
Then the county said, no longer. You will pay us, and we'll pay the guy, and they charged like more than double.
Yeah.
That's
And it's like, you price us out. We can't afford to do this here anymore.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
That's too
I
bad.
would love to be on those roads again. There were some great roads there in the Hood River area.
Do you guys ever have any sound ordinance challenges you have to deal with?
You know Portland, don't you?
Yeah.
National Raceway.
Yep.
That is a constant struggle for that racetrack.
Yeah.
The cars do have a dB restriction. 95, 100 and something.
103.
Oh, there you go.
103?
Yep.
So the cars do have a restriction, but also we try and avoid the sensor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We actually make our route so it doesn't go past it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that whole thing, and I'm a person that will that will definitely bring this up. Is there's 2 or 3 people that are constantly doing those complaints in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody else has a problem with it. They've got a freaking freight train that goes right by their
It's
freaking houses.
louder.
Yep.
Yeah, totally louder. But they complain about the racetrack because they don't want the racetrack there.
Yeah.
And they're doing everything they can to get rid of it.
Funny thing
the
is-
new thing where they're trying to get rid of the lead in the fuel. I don't know if you saw that.
Yep,
That came up.
saw that.
Oh, I didn't see that. Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And for how rare that actually happens,
Right.
you know, it's maybe somebody with some historic vehicle or something like that. I mean, come on.
You have
Yeah.
to add lead to your fuel to get lead into it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The was it TF something, whatever that little stuff is. That and it's like 0.0001% and whatever. And yeah, I fly private planes, and yeah, that's 100 low lead. And yeah, it's a very small amount, but it has to do with the old engines and it's something with if I remember, the valves and the soft seals or something like that, right? So. Anyway, and plus it has to be something that still goes boom at any altitude and all that stuff. Granted, all modern engines, Rotaxes and stuff like that, when it comes to aircraft, you have good electronic ignitions and all that stuff. So they're slowly transitioning them that they can use MoGas on them. But and I'm sure you can convert vehicles too. But if you're trying to stay historic, you've got certain historic things.
You got like cars from 1920s racing on the track. And going
sometimes,
back and
you know.
forth. Yeah.
My 64 Ford, when I had it,
Yep.
my dad had to actually harden the seats and put new valves in
I could believe it. Yeah.
because of the.
Because they were built
leaded
with lead in
fuel.
mind during the time. It's-
Soften the blow.
Yeah.
All right. So we've kind of talked a lot about challenges for competitors and that kind of stuff. What do you see as their biggest challenge when getting into racing, or even maybe they've been into it for a full season? Like what's their biggest challenge?
Sponsorship, getting money.
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an expensive sport. Our country is massive, and having a championship that has 7 rounds, 8 rounds, and you're crisscrossing all the way across it.
Across the country.
And when you're trying to take time off of work, all the folks that are competing, other than Brandon Semenuk and a few others, they all have day jobs, and so just even the time away, you're trucking a vehicle. All the way across the country. There's the time to have that done. Then you got to get there in time for recce, and the event. And then you got to get back home.
Yep.
That's just the time part. Let alone hotels, the entry fees, and all that. So tires, parts.
Oh, yeah.
You start adding that all up, and it is an extremely expensive championship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands per weekend of racing.
Has it been easier for people with sponsorships since the more live streaming has been happening in YouTube?
It's still been a struggle. The thing that's really looking actually exciting right now, I mentioned earlier Lance Smith, head of Vermont Sports Car. He's actually been trying to retire for several years, and he actually has stepped away from Vermont Sports Car specifically, and he started a rally promoter business called Rally Forward. This was just announced this year. He actually put it together last year, but basically the structure with ARA is changing a little bit, where they're having all the sponsorship management and stuff dealing with media, like photographers coming out, media guys coming out, and all the promotion of the events, working more with the organizers and stuff like that on that side, being handled by this group called Rally Forward. And he's hired on some of the folks that were part of ARA in that role, whereas ARA is going to focus on the competition side now, just the safety, the timing and scoring, all that stuff, the competition side of the rule making and things like that.
Right.
But we've never had just like a separate entity that managed nothing but trying to promote our events and help it grow.
Yeah.
And Lance is a guy that found a way. Right, he's been doing this pretty much all his life. He got to sit in the seat with John Buffum and got to feel what it was like to ride in a rally car, and he was hooked.
Yeah.
And he's been involved in rallying ever since, and was able to get Subaru on board and all that stuff. He's like, this can be done. This can be done as a way to to promote and business. I think I think live streaming may get better. So one of the problems with live streaming for us is we're out in rural areas.
Yeah.
Yep.
In Oregon, we've been kind of okay. There's been spots where I can still get, as cell phone signals have gotten better with 4G and then now 5G. That has helped, but there's still areas where you get no signal at all.
What about with Starlink?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So that has now changed everything, right?
Okay.
Because with Starlink, you can still get the uploads still are not nearly as good as the downloads.
But it's better than not having it at all.
Right. So you can get, I think, a 10 megabit upload, and you'll get like 150 megabit download. And so 10 megabit is still fine for doing a live stream. So I played around with it a little bit with our events. And so I think that may change the dynamics of getting more live coverage for events in the future. So if they build that up, I know ARA owns a couple of Starlink units. So building that up along with getting a big push for getting sponsors involved. We've got Kubota Tractor is the presenting sponsor of the American Rally Association now.
Awesome.
And people are like, Kubota Tractor? Why would a tractor company want to be involved in racing?
Why not?
Well, if
They
you think about
use
it,
them.
Yeah.
well, where are we racing?
Yeah, on the dirt.
Out in the
Yeah.
country.
In the country
Gravel.
around what? A bunch of farmland.
Bunch of farmland.
I mean, I was out doing stage setup last year, and one of the farmers that we go right by his property, wanted to come out and chat with us, and he's rumbling up in his little off-road Kubota little ATV thing.
Yeah.
Go.
Hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a perfect example. It's like this is going to the people that they need to that they want to market to.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of understanding that. Actually, one of my favorite also examples of that kind of thing is understanding that the different kind of market you can kind of go to with as a sponsor. The head of Cooper Tires, when they were doing stuff before they got absorbed by, was it Goodyear owns them now or something? Whatever. Anyways, the head of Cooper Tire, they were a sponsor of our events for a year, and she was saying that what our best ROI is as far as sponsorship goes. Blue Ribbon, the bull riders.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, the Pabst Blue Ribbon, bull riding
yeah.
series. And why?
Oh, the trucks it takes to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All those guys with their horses and
Trailers.
and steers, and they all got trailers and they got trucks and they need tires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said it has been one of the best things out there, and of course also because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And so it was a great ROI for them. And I think Kubota, it's kind of be the same thing. Nobody else is thinking. It's like, wow, let's think outside the box of what kind of things you'd want out here. Sure. Yeah, I can imagine something like, I don't know, maybe we get Leatherman tools or something like that, because like people are fixing their cars on stuff,
Yeah.
kind of in all these out in the wilderness areas. It's kind of their market, or maybe Columbia Sportswear. You could get these types of outdoorsy, out in the farmland, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Carhartt, I don't know, and maybe we can get that. But
That's probably a good one.
yeah, actually, I know somebody. I
There
might
you
have to
go.
work on that.
There
Anyway,
you go.
but that's been the hard thing is for not just the events, but for also the competitors is finding a sponsor that will stick with them,
Yeah.
and getting them the content that they need,
Yeah.
and because it's a small audience, so we need to build up the audience, and then also show the value. we've been doing recently, sending out surveys to volunteers and to competitors and to the spectators that we know about. We have the little QR code out at the spectator area, and saying, "Hey, fill out this survey because we want to know when you came out to this event. Did you go out to eat? Did you stay at a hotel? Give us this information."
Yeah.
They calculated this up in Michigan for their event up there, and in their little outside of Marquette, they did a weekend impact of like 4.5 million.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Yeah, those towns need to
Holy
know that.
moly.
That
Exactly.
This is what we're bringing in.
well, right, exactly, and exactly. So we can then show that as value to also sponsors. Like,
Sure.
look at how many people are coming out to this thing, and are and those are just the ones that respond.
Yeah.
Which is probably
20%.
Yeah.
maybe
On a
50 if you're
good
lucky.
day?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Wow. That is how things grow.
Exactly.
So let's.
More you know.
Yeah, the more you know. Exactly. That used to be a thing on what?
G.I. Joe.
Nah.
No.
Back
He's
in the
talking
day in
about
the
like this
cartoons.
Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The more you know. So let's talk about your area. What's it take for you to put on an event? Like, seems like a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors to it. My specific role, I work with helping manage media out at events. At the event, I work with, and so this includes figuring out like no-go zones for people, and talking to new media so they know how to be safe. And then there's going to be the stage control boxes with all these. When you go into the timing controls, we have these boxes that have all the equipment that you're going to need, all the log sheets, all that stuff. I build those out. So I've got timing clocks and all that stuff that are backups. I have radios to communicate. I have basically half a garage full of stuff that I have to put together to ready for the event. And all that stuff varies. How many stages are we doing? There's how many log sheets you need. There's how many batteries you need for your radios and for your clocks, and figuring all that stuff out. Let's see here. I try and manage the website, update it when when we have the road closure information, because the locals really want to know about that.
Yeah.
And the competitor information, make sure that's all linked up in there. I help out with everything from the spectator guide for information on that, and work on the poster, and so a little bit of helping with with design work and whatnot with the guys. Right now we got Casey Jones, actually has been doing a lot more of that stuff now. So, but I kind of work with him as like get another second set of eyes on it, and help make decisions on that. Stage setup, as I said before, that's where we go out actually the weekend before. That's actually a fun thing.
Yeah.
You're out there just kind of talking to the locals too, and you're staking out where all the starts and where all the mileage markers are and things like that. And you spend the weekend just kind of it's kind of leisurely, and you hang out with folks. And some of the locals really do love us coming out there. Again, like you said, especially local businesses. They're like, yes, this is
Bring it in. Let's get it.
Exactly. Some of the most money they're going to make until the summer months, where they got travelers coming in. So
You bet. That's infused economy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's money that they wouldn't normally see.
So, I do a lot of these kind of tasks kind of like that. The event itself, as far as all the stuff to get together, is communicating with the American Rally Association about any changes that may affect our event. A lot of it, again, revolves around safety. So we have to have a safety plan all put together. So that is working with a special. So we have on our organizing committee probably about 30, 35 people.
Okay.
Wow.
Total volunteers it takes to run an event, 350 to 400 if we can help it. We prefer to have that. Often we get a little less, and so we struggle. Where again, we have to have somebody at every road intersection. We have to have all the control workers and all that stuff.
How do you communicate with all those people?
Email.
Like, not everybody has radios. Well, I mean,
What do you mean during the event?
during the event.
Well, so like a road marshal, they're just going to be, there is a green light vehicle that when the road is open and they can leave, the green light goes by. And so they know that's when they can leave. So they'll work with that stage captain about, okay, here's where you're going to go, and you're going to block off this road. So everybody kind of goes in a parade down the stage and like stop, let this person
is
off.
where they're at.
This is where you're going to be. You're going to be
Gotcha.
here all day. Hope you brought a lunch. But here's your here's a little snacky bag that we give them. You know, we give it a little goodie bag, and you get a T-shirt and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet T-shirts.
I like
by
it.
the way.
I was
Isn't
gonna
that pretty
say,
cool,
that is
right?
a great
Yeah, we
T-shirt.
have some great T-shirt
Yeah.
designs, by the way.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So we try and take care of folks as
Sure.
best we can.
Yeah.
And
These are volunteer positions.
these are
This is
volunteer.
unpaid.
This is unpaid.
Okay.
So folks are coming
get
all the
that
way
out
out there.
You get paid in smiles per
but
gallon.
You do.
Yeah.
And like I said, working those control positions is especially fun because you get to interact with folks.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the cars going fast as much, I guess, because you're working a control. But the interactions are really fun.
Yeah.
But if you want to see fast cars, you can just work as a road marshal, right? And then you're out there helping block off roads and stuff like that. So, but then there's a whole safety team. So we have our E-crew and suite teams. So these are the folks that we have to reserve and pay for emergency vehicles to be out there, right?
Yep.
So we got to work with the county on that and the local fire department, talk to the local police. They know about our event and that's going to be going on, so they know about it. Work with the county commissioners and the, we got to get not only the county permits, but you want to work with the local county so they're okay with it. The city, as we talked about before, with we got to get the ability to use that the service park wherever it's going to be, and then there's just mileaging out the event. So you're going out there with GPS, and you're okay. Here's where my start's going to be. Even if it's an event you've done before, you're still having to remap it out.
Gotcha.
Maybe there's there's actually a stage that we're hoping to use that we used a couple of years ago that we're going to add on to this one, and then it's like figuring out if we add that one in. Based on how we did the route last year, where this stage finishes, where would it fit in the loop?
Yeah.
And then you got to figure out the transit times, and you got to think about again figuring out that whole day of how that's going to work,
How it flows.
and how it's going to flow.
Yeah.
And that's and so you've got to have all that planned out, and then get the permits for those roads.
Yep.
Once you've gotten that planned out and you got approval, then you got to send the letters to the landowners, make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So that's all happening was happening last month and this month.
Okay.
So our first meeting that we have for the event is in January,
Okay.
and our event is in May.
Okay. So that was actually my next question. How long in advance, or how long does it take you to plan for this event? Like overall, is
So
this
it's usually 6 months.
6 months?
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll start out with just like monthly meetings for
Yeah.
the first couple of them,
Yeah.
and then it's every other week, and then the last month it's every week.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're planning out the route. They get to submit the safety plan. It has to get checked off by ARA because they supply the insurance. So then we have to get our insurance.
Yep.
Again, in the meantime, you're also doing the permits. You're doing those meetings with the county. You're getting the permits for that. In this case, with Dallas Mountain, we actually go through a state park through part of that road, and so you have to then deal with them.
Oh yeah.
So there's a hell of a lot of communication.
Yeah.
Is part of it. In addition to then, you're also creating the route book. You're actually making the map of where they're going to do their recce, and so you've got to design. Every one of those. Gosh, I should have brought one with me so you can see what a route book looks like. But basically, it tells you each one of the turns that you're going to have to take.
Gotcha.
And in 0.6 of a mile, you're going to turn right, and it shows a cumulative mileage as well as time, the amount of mileage between each instruction,
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Those are always paper, right? Or are they ever going to become digital at any point, or is there a future?
I
of that?
mean, some people may put it on a iPad or
Okay.
something like that when they're doing the recce.
Yeah.
But we still give them a physical one,
Okay.
because then you can write notes on it and stuff
Yeah.
too. As far as the pace notes that are done with the co-driver, those will always be paper. I don't see where that would ever go digital. I do remember in the WRC where somebody accidentally left their pace notes on top of the roof of the car, and so they had to run a stage. I think it was the WRC 2, the step down series, where somebody literally had an iPhone and was paging through.
Really?
And was using
Talk
that.
about hard to read.
Yeah. That's not preferable.
Come on, battery life, stay.
Right, exactly. Yeah, don't want to lose a battery on that one. But
Yeah.
anyways, we'll probably always use paper.
Okay.
Wow.
What's it?
And we have to send that stuff to a printing company. That's another thing. Got all these deadlines. So we use
Yeah.
local printing companies.
Massive,
to print.
massive amount of communication and,
Yep.
and deadlines and
Yep, exactly.
so much stuff that has to hit milestones just to
Yep.
have this event.
And then you got stage set up. So the week before, again, we're going out and we're putting stakes in the ground and getting that stuff ready.
Flags, arrows, things.
Um,
Any markers like that? You got to put markers up.
We'll put the tough thing that you have is you have the locals that don't want us there. We'll pull things out.
Gotcha.
So you put up, you mark things as minimal as is required.
Yep.
Okay.
You'll put like we'll set up the banner tape and we'll set it aside.
Yeah.
But it's not put up yet.
Yep.
Things like that. So we'll do a lot of the prep that's ready. So that's why we try and do it just the very weekend before, because that's less likely of somebody tearing something down.
Yeah.
Then you'll have, the day of the event, the stage captain for that stage with his crew will be going through that stage with them.
Make sure
and when they
everything's
see
there.
something that's odd, they always have extra banner tape, extra stakes, all that stuff with them, or extra signage that's necessary in case there's something that's missing, and
Gotcha.
then they can put that in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
What's it look like once all the racing's done for the day? What's the teardown look like, and what's like the aftermath?
Yeah. So really, that would be the end of. Say it's a stage that runs twice. That second running of the stage, what'll happen is the last car starts, and 1 minute after that car starts will be when the sweep crew goes through. Now, sweep are the crews that yank cars out that get stuck. They let's say your 2-wheel drive car and you high center off for a berm, and you're just got stuck there. They're the ones that are going to be able to yank you out.
Okay.
Or a car's fully off the road and it's rolled over, and they're going to be the ones that have the special winches and pulleys and stuff to safely pull that car back up on the road if it went off the edge, all that stuff. And then right behind them is going to be basically is going to be the green light. The green light says the road is now open. It is now a public road again, and right behind him, the volunteers will start coming out and start following behind. And as they come along, they'll start picking up stuff.
Okay.
So they'll be pulling the stakes out of the ground that had like mileage markers on them. There'll be any banner tape and stuff. We give them a garbage bag basically, and just start, shoving all that stuff in your car as you're driving along. If somebody else in front of you didn't grab that thing, you grab it. And so they kind of clean up as they go.
Okay.
We always like to make it even better than it was.
Leave it
when
better
we-
than you found.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Boy Scout motto.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we do that, and then the day after the event, those of us in the organizing committee will actually do another scout run during the daylight, because we tend to end as it gets into evening and
Kinda
stuff.
late, yeah.
And so there's things that can be missed. There may have been a car wreck that maybe went over a fence and damaged a fence. So we're going to want to inspect that, talk to the landowner, and see about what it's going to cost to get that fixed, so we can submit that to insurance if we need to or whatever. And then pick up other bits. We've had delaminated tire and bits kind of just go everywhere, and just kind of clean up
Yeah.
broken
Make it
bits
look
of
good
car
so
from
that
a
you get
roll.
invited back.
Yeah, exactly. Again,
Yeah.
just trying to do that nice extra little cleanup.
You bet.
So we do that then that next day after. And that's pretty much kind of how it ends. And
What
then
about you were talking about earlier road maintenance, like for off road? Like,
Yeah,
how
so-
long does people expect like that to happen? Is it something like?
Yeah, usually it'll be about a week or two later. You'll have the. Sometimes it's really quick. I think actually now that I think about it, down in Dufur, one of the stages we were out that next day, and apparently that morning, because we didn't get out there until the afternoon, and that morning a guy was out with a grader already, and
wow.
had cleaned up that road. So it was pretty amazing. That's not typical. Usually it's sometime in that next week that you'd have somebody come out and grade the road again. But
Yeah.
Okay.
but again, a graded road after we've been through it is usually better than when we start.
Yeah.
So it's actually a benefit to a lot of these communities because we make the road better.
Yeah.
Even though we tore it up for a bit, it's been torn up all winter.
Sure. Yeah.
And we've had times where we have to pay for a grader to smooth it out enough for us to race on it. And
Oh.
then we have to grader it again.
Oh, wow. That road's that bad.
Well, yeah, when you have a really
Yeah.
bad winter,
Yeah.
where it just starts creating all kinds of nasty stuff, exactly, or bad drainage and things like that. We've had to had rock hauled in when stuff has gotten too muddy and whatnot, and you need a rock base again because just the clay.
What kind of size? Like -3/4 or something like that? Or
That's preferable. There was a year that we didn't have a choice but have this big chunky stuff, and
Pit run.
basically it was pretty bad. It stayed put, but yeah, there was concerns of punctures on that. A lot of cars had to lift going over that stuff.
does it matter if it's clean or dirty rock? Like when you order it, it just whatever fills.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't do those orders myself, but yeah, I think it's not overly picky. I think it's just, and this also depends on whether it's a private road that's being repaired or whether it's one of the public ones. So
Okay.
it's probably whatever they require.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever they had there before.
Yeah, exactly. But
So where do you see Rally going?
Fast.
What's the future of Rally?
what do I think the future of rallying?
How is the how's the health of the sport and where's it going?
That's an interesting one because, like I said, the challenges we were talking about before about electrics and stuff like that, and everything seems to be going that way. As much as I love the torque of electric, right? I mean, who doesn't?
This guy over there.
It's all the torque you could want, as much electricity thrown at it. But that said, I think hybrids maybe are a future. They tried that though in rallying, and it didn't work out. They actually pulled it out of the WRC, but a lot of that was cost driven.
Yep.
But then again, there's also the sustainable fuels thing that they're kind of pushing now instead, which is totally fine. I think burning hydrogen might be the future. You can actually, just like you can do a propane gas conversion on a car, you can actually make a hydrogen conversion on a car right now.
Yep.
You just change the injections and how that's done right. Program it right, and you can run hydrogen. So I think as far as that, think about the World Rally Championship and that future, I think that's more of where it's going to go. It's maybe towards that hydrogen thing. Toyota's pushing that a lot, and Toyota has a lot of money and a lot of push in a lot of motorsports.
Yeah.
So I think that might be where it's go. As far as stateside, I think we're a lot slower to grow on that train. We're still mostly grassroots. You'll say that, out of 75 entries, 55 of those are going to be regional guys. And some of those ones that are entered national are actually regional people entering in as national because they want to compete with the national guys. So, I think because it's so grassroots, we like a lot of the older cars where you can work on them and whatnot. That's one of the bigger challenges, even before you get into into anything like hybrid and all that crap, is the fact that the modern cars and their electronics alone.
Yes.
You literally have to gut the cars completely now, and then put in, a Motec or whatever.
Real basic.
Yeah, and just kind of redo the whole car from scratch. Whereas you didn't have to do that with the old GC and GD Subarus and things like that. You could use the existing wiring. Maybe you reprogram the computer a little bit or something like that, but that was it. And that's just not possible anymore with newer vehicles. So I think that's one of the struggles, is just getting any newer vehicle. But I think we're going to see more of these cars from Europe. One of the things that Rally Forward is trying to do is it's very expensive to use those Rally 3s and Rally 2 cars in the United States because you basically are only allowed to have the cars here for a certain amount of time because they're not technically a legal car in the United States.
Right.
Like a show and display kind of thing?
And exactly.
Okay.
And because we transit on a public road with what has to be a street legal car, unlike you guys on a circuit race, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
That is totally private, doesn't matter.
Right.
But because we transit on public roads, these are cars that have to have a license, and they have to have insurance, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it is a huge struggle. And there's people that found a way to work around it, some gray areas on that. But the Rally Forward folks, Lance Smith and all, are trying to find a solution, actually working with like congressmen and whatnot. It's like, hey, we need to fix this. Because they're not going to be commuting to work. This is for an event that they're going to do these short transits. And that's all they're for. Let's make these cars legal here. So I think we'll see those start to grow here in the sport here. I think it's probably the biggest change we'll see is kind of in that. I think we'll see growth in promotion. Again, I think the Starlink thing, getting more live stuff. Social media has been good for our sport. I think more than other forms of motorsport. If you look up just racing, you'll see a ton of rally videos, and those are the ones that people watch the most.
It's fascinating to watch. It really
To
is.
see a car jump 20 feet in the air and land butter smooth.
Sideways. And
sideways,
And
yeah.
apex the next turn.
Right?
It's intense.
It's amazing.
Nuts.
And people love the outdoors too and all that stuff. It's got this natural appeal. So as long as we can keep getting the roads, and then like I said, the growth with technology and whatnot, and hopefully getting more of those cars over there, I think we're gonna have more Rive and drives, more rental stuff, happening too. I think the sport's gonna be strong.
Good.
I think it's gonna go through a growth pattern here soon.
That'd be good.
No, that's pretty awesome.
I got a question then. Because
Do you have a question, Grant?
I always have questions. When I think of rally, and I assume a lot of people do, first thing come to mind is Group B.
Ah, yes.
Do you think currently rally is just as fast and exciting as it was back then?
You're going to have to explain Group B for people.
That too. I Me?
Okay.
Yes, you.
I don't know. Fast. Ferrari.
Somebody that
Lancia,
knows Group A.
Audi.
Okay. So, well, yeah, I mean, Audi kind of was that beginning era of it, right? So, go back to the 1980s. Four-wheel drive wasn't a thing as a performance option before 1982, 81,
81.
when the Audi Quattro came into the WRC. And they created the Quattro. Before, I mean, the only four-wheel drives were trucks, Jeeps, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't high performance.
It wasn't a
race cars.
performance thing.
Yeah.
And then Audi comes around, and holy crap, that changes everything.
Yeah.
And the performance there, and other brands, figuring that out, there was a lot of money that went into rallying. There was actually a time around Group B, which basically what the rule was, you only had to make 250 of a car.
Yeah.
A 250 of cars that people could buy.
Yeah, for
And then
homologation.
for homologation.
Yep.
And you could do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
It was pretty nuts. And so there was a lot of horsepower in these cars. Obviously, the Audi Quattro, it was a turbocharged 5-cylinder,
Yeah.
inline 5-cylinder, but back then we knew how to make power. Boy, could we make power!
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I was.
But the other part was our suspension sucked, our brakes sucked, the tires weren't as good, right? So getting to that, so during that era of Group B, and by the way, do you know where the very last ever Group B event was in the world?
I do not.
No, I actually do not.
Just north of here,
Yeah.
Olympia.
Wow.
Really?
The Olympus Rally
That's
was
cool.
1986
Huh.
was the very last Group B event in the world.
I'll be darned.
What was the
it was part
reason
of the
for it being the last one there?
It was the last round of the World Rally Championship.
Okay.
It was part of the WRC back then.
Okay.
Yep. 1986, because 85 was a Canada event, so 86 to 89 or 88, something like that.
Okay.
So after that, they went to what's called Group A. That's when the Lancia Delta Integrales and whatnot were the car of choice. But anyway, so yeah, Group B became too dangerous because how loose the rules were. You had people sitting on top of the gas tanks and things like that, and people were crashing and dying. And
Just don't see a problem with it. I don't understand.
So that ended up ending. It only took 2 years into the Group A era before they were as fast as Group B.
Really?
2 years. That's
Oh,
it.
wow.
Now, you
Racing
didn't see
breeds
that.
technology,
That was
man.
not the same in horsepower.
Yeah.
It wasn't straight line speed, but it was then getting better suspension and better brakes and all the other things. So
Yeah.
the average speed went up tremendously. The Rally 1 cars in WRC are exponentially faster than Group B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're running little 1.6 liter, turbocharged
Right.
4-cylinder. So
Yeah.
in the case of what is it, the Yaris Rally 2 car, it's a 3-cylinder.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So you don't need big horsepower to go
no,
fast.
no, you don't. Again, it's also that momentum driving. It's the fact they can maintain those speeds through the corners with the suspension they have and the tires they have and the brakes that they have and stuff. It just, they're definitely faster.
Yeah.
So the cars that you'll see, the Subarus that are racing, the Brandon Semenuk and Travis Pastrana and whatnot, they're faster than what Group B was.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think that Yaris, by the way,
Yeah.
the 3-cylinder, I think it's 300 horse from the factory.
It is.
That thing's fast.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, a friend of mine has because in the States we don't get the Yaris, we get the
Get the
Corolla.
Corolla.
And a friend of mine has a GR Corolla, and I got to drive it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And you would not believe how low in the RPM you get the power out of that thing. It's a big ass turbo to do that.
Really.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Cool.
So if Group A has gotten caught up that fast, and Rally is
Yeah,
just
and then
fast-
Group A became just like WRC or whatever. Now they call it Rally 1 for the top level.
I got to ask you, in your opinion, other than the all-wheel drive advancement, what's been Rally's biggest technology advancement? You think,
Suspension.
I was going to say
Yeah.
suspension's probably
or
it.
technology, I should say? Like what,
Yeah.
like specifically something that someone invented that really took Rally to the next step?
I would definitely have to say suspension.
Okay.
And I would actually also say probably these days, I'm not sure how much development goes into it. Well, actually, there's a couple of things. With the Subaru guys, I know they work with Garrett Turbo a lot. They never let you see what turbos they're working on. Everything's
always
obviously
hush,
it's
hush.
exactly. Yeah.
Top secret.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, we'll put like I remember doing media stuff, and we're with cameras and stuff, and they're like putting a shield in front of the engine and stuff like that. You can't look in here.
Can't see any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but the turbo technology, I think, is something that because the conditions, you're on the throttle, off the throttle all the time.
Yeah.
You're in these conditions with the dust and the dirt and the weather. So I think that turbo technology is one of them.
Okay.
Lubricants probably as well to go along with that because the high heat and whatnot of the turbos because usually have fluid bearing, right? So there's that.
Anti-lag.
Anti-lag, yeah. That's definitely been a big thing. I don't think that's something you see in a road car though.
No.
So probably not something I would transition to what a manufacturer would be interested in. Suspension, definitely a huge thing. Having something that for folks that are especially definitely more rural or dealing with more potholes. Heck, we know that ODOT doesn't do a very good job of keeping up with their budget, so that means roads are going to get worse. So maybe we need better suspensions.
Right.
Tire technology. Even though they're special rally tire, they still learn stuff.
Absolutely.
Learn about compounds and things that they can do there.
All racing develops tires. All that stuff trickles down into your
It
street
does.
tires.
Yeah, remember? It seems like not too long ago we started getting nice silicone in our tires for the winter and stuff like that. That wasn't that long ago that we started getting that to get better grip on slippery surfaces and whatnot. And this is where a lot of that technology can be learned. Let's see here. What else? I think that's kind of probably the big ones right there.
Yeah. Well, and
just how things get beat up. You're going to get in a rally race, the amount of work that a car does.
Durability.
Exactly. The durability of it. It's just so much more. When I'm out there just in my Outback and, spirited driving to do stuff for the rally, when you're slipping around, you're making those differentials. You're constantly locking the center diff for the all-wheel drive and whatnot because you got a tire slipping and things like that. And so those things get a lot more work.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get that wear to understand, what areas do you need? Maybe have better cooling for maybe the road car or whatever.
well, transmissions too, though.
Yep.
Oh,
that's another one. Yeah, I was gonna say
for sure.
like the sequentials even.
Yeah.
I bet Sadev
That stuff
gets a lot
That
because
stuff
the amount
trickles
of
down. Absolutely.
the amount of shifts that you're having to do in
Yeah.
rallying is a lot.
Do they use stick sequentials or do they use paddle shifter sequentials now?
Stick.
Stick?
Yeah, manual
Why?
sequential.
Why would you do that instead of having it up here? Because your hands are on the wheel, you're more
So WRC did a paddle shifter for a short time. The problem is just the cost.
Okay.
It is exponentially more expensive to do an electronic paddle shift that tells a computer to do the shifting than it is to do a manual sequential where you're going right into the hydraulic
Just
system
bang
with
it.
your
Yeah.
with your hand.
Okay.
So they got rid of that because of cost.
Okay.
The manual's probably a little quicker too. I know the electronics can be fast, but it seems like there's going to be a lag. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just guessing.
But the difference there is you can do it when you're in a different part of the corner, maybe. So
Sure.
right, because your
Timing.
hand doesn't have to go
Yeah.
off the wheel.
Yeah, timing.
And so you're not like shifting first and then turning because you know that turn's coming.
Yeah.
You can do it in the turn.
Yeah.
And so I think there's so
Compensate for
I don't
that.
think that's necessarily slower. I think you actually get a minor speed advantage with the paddle shifter.
Okay.
But I think it's minor.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Interesting. What's it like? You say that the sport's healthy and all that, but cost of entry is very high. How do we get new people into the sport?
Knowing about it. I think the problem is just
it, huh?
knowing about it.
Just knowing
Is
about it?
You get people out there.
Yeah.
And come out to PIR, get there in the paddock, and you start seeing it and feeling the vibe, and you just get sucked in.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just getting it out there.
I think that's it.
Advertising.
We try.
Yeah.
Just being there is the best advertising.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to know, with all your years being involved with rally, do you have any story or experience that really sticks out to you? Like when someone says, "What was that?"
Gosh. Oh man. That's a really tough one. I should have had one of these planned.
I like to throw the curveball question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I'm trying to think of something that happened specifically with me around. I remember Travis Pastrana being very upset because he had come into this New England Forest Rally 2019, 2018, and they told them that for the final check-in, the MTC, the master time controls you do at the very end, they could just declare a time, just to kind of speed things up instead of having to come in on a certain minute. And this co-driver, even though they declared time, it's like, you just tell them the time that it is right now and you write that on your card. He told them the wrong minute and he got a penalty. And that slipped him back. So that was, so the type it'll cost him a podium, I think, if I remember right, or cost him from being second place to third or something like that. Anyways, so that was just one of those, just like, it was just one of those stupid, honest mistakes. I felt so bad, for that. Like, no, of all the things, but I mean, you got to do the math right.
Yeah.
And just said the time wrong. So that was one of them. Oh gosh, what other stuff? After parties that have been interesting.
Okay.
I remember David Higgins and hanging out with him after one of the after parties at Ojibwe Forest Rally. There's always a big party at this place in downtown Detroit Lakes called Zorba's.
Okay.
And there's a lot of drinking that goes on. And I won't go into all the details of what happened, but I do remember there was some construction in that downtown, and he was just... he was so plastered. He wanted to just cause a little mayhem, and there's like this some bags set up with like a sign that said detour turn here, and of course he's turning the sign around the other way and things like act like a large child.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. Some things like that. But
Nice.
but I mean, I don't know. There's a story every event though.
Yeah.
And,
Something's always happening, right?
So my favorites are the folks that in the back that or mid pack that there's one. There was being up at Olympus Rally, and I was kind of doing some stage end reporting just as folks were coming to the finish. This downpour happens. It's at nighttime.
Okay.
And it's the last stage of the day on the Saturday up there, and it just starts dumping so hard, and cars are coming into the finish, and they're just like saying, I couldn't see a thing. I mean, I'm doing transit speed trying to get through this stage. And I see this right behind this other car is a Subaru that pulls up. And I think it was Dan Sperry. And he comes up and he's like, he's kind of laughing. He's like, I don't know how I went through there that fast. That I was stupid. And he had a really good time compared to anybody else in his class. He just stomped them on that one stage, and it was just such horrid weather. I mean, it was like kind of like the rain we were seeing today with the atmospheric river thing. It was just dumping. Another one was Alex Rhiannon and Travis Pastrana, also up at Olympus. It might have been that same weekend. Their fix for the fact that the window kept fogging up. They put on the end of a stick a little windshield wiper. They had actually screwed a little windshield wiper. So on the inside, so she's in the co-driver's seat. You're strapped in with these belts, right?
Yeah.
You can hardly move. And she's like trying to reach, she's reading notes, right? And then periodically trying to wipe over his windshield side on the inside, trying to get rid of the fogging up.
That is pure multitasking.
Yeah, it's pretty damn clever.
Got to do what you got to do.
Got to do what you got to do. But it's all these clever things that folks will come up with to overcome the conditions and keep their car on the road. I'll have to stop and think some more at some point. But there's just always something. Every event, there's some sort of struggle and making it to the finish. And then there's the close finishes. Watch those other classes. Don't just watch the guys at the front.
Yeah.
Brandon Semenuk, he's so freaking good. He's like a robot. He's probably going to win. But start watching the times coming in from the folks farther back. And like I said, the limited two-wheel drive class, some of the best of the competition is right back there. And, you'll have maybe one stage where somebody's, 4 seconds up on that one, but on the other one, the other guy's 4 seconds up, 'cause maybe one has more power on the straight, the other one's better in the corners or whatever. And you have this this dynamic of these guys at, like I said, 0.6 seconds difference, at the end of a rally is pretty damn close.
Tight racing for sure.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more?
Well, we have, by the way, volunteer registration is open for Oregon Trail Rally. So if you want to go to OregonTrailRally.com, you will find information about the event. We don't have the spectator guide up yet. We're still working on it.
Okay.
But keep track of that website and, of course, our social media, the Facebook for OregonTrailRally.com or for Oregon Trail Rally, and for the Instagram page for that. So we post a lot of things. But yes, please come out and volunteer.
Yeah.
Like I said, we need 350 of you folks. So I
What are
expect
the
all
dates
of you.
again? What are the dates?
May 16th through the 18th.
Okay.
It's also on that webpage.
Perfect.
Also, if you want to know more rules and things about the rally cars and the different specs and things like that, go to American Rally Association. I think it's AmericanRallyAssociation.org or something like that. It's if you do a Google search,
Google
you'll find
search, it'll come up. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you'll find out more about the different championship events. So we'll have in April will be Olympus Rally. It's in Shelton, outside of Shelton, Washington, which is about a half hour north of Olympia.
Yep.
And then we'll have the next month after that will be Oregon Trail Rally. So very excited for that. And
Nice.
then we got our regional events. There's events in Canada just across the border. Although I don't know if they may charge a tariff for going in there now, but
Yeah, who knows? $10 fee.
Where is the nearest world?
Rally Championship event.
Yeah.
Ooh, nearest. That is a good question. It used to be Rally Mexico, but they stopped doing that one. Probably Chile. They go down to Chile now.
Okay.
So we're going to have any of our Chile listeners let us know how that is.
Other than that, I guess go to Spain. I guess would be one. Portugal.
Interesting. I know
but-
there's a lot in Europe.
Yeah, most all of it's in Europe. We've been trying to get an event to come to the U.S. Part of this rally, the promotion stuff going on and whatnot would be to try and work with them to come to the United States. A likely candidate area for that is Tennessee or Kentucky. So we've got some events over there now.
How come
And-
either of those two?
The mileage of the roads that they need is kind of favorable to that, and you need a large amount. You need a large area for the service park. That's an available thing there, and then from what I'm hearing, just closer to lodging and whatnot.
Okay.
So it's like we actually have some amazing roads up there in the Olympia area, and outside of Shelton, and those Green Diamond roads probably work really well to some extent.
Yeah.
But you're talking about 300 stage miles
Okay.
needed for a WRC event,
Yeah.
not 130.
Okay.
And so, or maybe a little less than that, maybe it's 300 kilometers, but still, it's a lot more than what we do. So more like 200 miles, 250. It's hard for us to have events that have that many unique roads to be able to
Don't
go
have
on.
the area or the outside support.
Exactly.
Hotels and all that stuff.
Tennessee
close by.
recently, had a thing where they're trying to get more motorsport in their state.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have where the state will help pay, help promote stuff and whatnot.
Incentives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's probably another reason why it would be
Yeah.
more likely to be in one of those states over there.
Interesting.
But
Doesn't
that's-
Utah do the same thing though with the Motorsports Commission? Like they're trying to get more motorsport in.
I think I heard something about that.
Yeah.
I haven't been really following Utah too much. but-
Yeah. Well, I know that they've done some of the closed course rally stuff out there at Miller.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's
So-
with the Nitro Rallycross and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. They also promote a lot of motorcycle sport and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they're,
Yeah, but
they're trying to.
The tough thing is, you got to get the roads
Yeah.
that are interesting
Yeah.
and out in a rural area. But then you also need the volunteers that'll come out there and help you out. So you need a good volunteer base. It'll be.
If the volunteers come out, do you guys allow camping on site, like the night before or anything like that?
There's definitely camping nearby, but not
Okay.
on the road itself.
Okay.
It's not like, I guess.
Like with autocross,
Yeah.
most of the events we go to, there's a good amount where people park trailers and camp out.
Yeah, but we're only
Yeah.
talking 100 people.
True.
Over a weekend.
And
so,
Yeah.
we're also not spread from, hell to breakfast.
True.
yeah, it would be tough with 300 volunteers to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare.
But I mean, there's definitely actually we've got a lot of links to some of the different camping areas that are near our event.
Yeah.
So there's definitely camping out there. Yeah,
Place
people
to stay.
Yeah, there's places to stay.
They don't stay at the high school or something like that.
Camp out in the football field.
Well,
there are events that utilize
Yeah,
those
that's
spaces.
true. That's
yeah.
true. But I think they keep most of that stuff locked up these days.
Yeah.
Watch out for vandals.
I suppose so. Okay. Well, we're running really long, so I'm going to skip the next topic. We're
Really
going to
good
jump
long.
it. No, it's perfect. It's awesome. Question for you. Things that we ask every guest. Now, this is not related to rally.
Okay.
So this is your personal opinions, okay?
I warned you.
Yeah, this is the most important
you?
questions.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't think you did.
No, he didn't. No, you didn't. They were not on the
they
show
were not.
notes.
They weren't?
No,
No.
they were not. I put them there.
Yeah.
No. I think I sent it.
Oh, okay, something separate.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that argument's settled.
Okay.
We always ask top 3 vehicles you would like to drive someday.
Ooh.
No vehicles.
Vehicles.
Yes. Can be any
Doesn't have to
any
be
type
just a
of
car.
Oh,
transportation.
yeah. Okay.
Doesn't have
Yeah,
to be a car.
hovercraft.
Yeah. Yeah.
We haven't had that yet.
Well, I mean, you had me at Lancia Stratos.
Yeah, it's a good one, huh?
I mean, just the history.
Yeah.
History and cars are a thing for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that would probably be one. McLaren F1,
Okay.
Beautiful.
right?
Yeah.
That's on your list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
Then just trying to broaden to just something different. I don't know.
A train.
A blimp.
I want to drive a train. A blimp, yeah.
An F-15 Eagle? No. I mean, if
Absolutely.
that's allowed,
It's on there.
It's vehicles.
You know,
man.
that's always been my favorite plane of all time. And now that the Oregon Air National Guard's getting the EX, which it has all the new modern stuff inside the F-15 package. Oh man, that thing's a beast.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take it. Sounds good. All right. If money is no object,
Okay.
what 3 cars would you like to own?
Okay. Back to the McLaren F1.
Yep. Checking 2 boxes there.
Yeah, well, so it has to be 3 again.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
It's going to be in your garage.
You don't have to worry about service. You don't have to worry about buying it. Doesn't matter.
I would want one of the Indy cars from the kart championship era.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the old like Menard chassis.
Be able to take it out on track days and
Wouldn't that be
actually
amazing?
play with it.
I don't know if you ever remember going to the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 here.
I
and
never
hearing
got to
those
go,
things.
but yeah. Yeah.
Man.
That era of car was
Yeah, like 1,200
Quite something.
horsepower, whatever the hell they were doing. It
Wow.
was just, yeah,
yeah.
they're just screaming demons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were they running V8s back then,
Yeah.
or did they run? Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, twin turbo V8s. Yeah. Let's see, what else? Money, no object, another vehicle.
There's a lot of them out
There's a
there.
lot.
So many. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a long list. Of, difficult
is.
to.
It is.
But we're gonna put you on the spot.
yeah.
You got to come up with one more.
Ford GT40.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Original?
Which
Put that
which-
right
which
next-
which version of the original GT?
Yeah, that's a-
Mark 1, 2, or 3, or 4.
Yeah, that's a valid question.
Or would a kit be satisfactory?
I mean, if money's no object, you go
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd go real.
Okay.
But I'd probably pick the more reliable one, whichever.
Mark 3 or Mark 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had some upgrades.
Yeah.
Great option. I mean, you park that right next to your F1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. What car's a hard no? Absolutely will not drive it. Somebody hands you the keys.
Oh gosh.
You'd rather walk.
I mean, that smart car's looking really intimidating.
You know, I used to say a Prius, but a friend of mine actually had one that actually it moved pretty quick. But it was the newer one. An older Prius would definitely be a no.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what's a hard no?
This is the keys. You have to keep it forever. Here you go. And you're like, no, I can't do it.
I don't know. I guess no offense, but just a stupid jacked up diesel. I mean, I'm all for diesels
Okay.
that are for like towing
So a
stuff and whatnot.
dude bro truck.
But the one that's like overdone, like,
Yeah.
dude, you're compensating for something.
24-inch.
I'm like, no, I don't want to be seen in that.
Yep. It's
Okay.
That and also, if you realize, I am not very tall.
Yeah.
So it would look like I'm compensating.
Yep.
So
Big old clackety clack diesel coming by.
yeah. I mean, my dad has a Ram Cummins turbo diesel and has had several of them over the years, and I love it. No, it's
Yeah.
a great vehicle, but it's not like super jacked
But
up.
when you put them on rubber band tires that are 24 with the lifted and
yeah,
glow lights
no,
underneath,
thank you.
Stack coming
Yeah.
out of the bed.
truck balls hanging
Any
from the back.
car that's stanced, hell no.
Okay. Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
we
Both
got
of
a
those.
we got a stanced PT Cruiser coming to you this week.
Yep.
No, thank you. That's probably
How
one
come
of my
everybody
biggest.
says no to that? I don't understand. It's the coolest car ever.
That's one of my pet peeves.
Got one with the
probably,
cowl
would
hood
be,
and everything.
Purple Woody.
Yeah.
Um,
Shouldn't talk
Oh,
about your
oh, there we go.
private life like that.
Pontiac Aztec
Oh, yeah.
It's a great car. I love the Aztec.
or the Nissan Juke, two of the ugliest cars built.
Juke is not great, but especially the
Somebody
name.
races one.
I
of
like
those.
the Aztec.
Yes, he did. He's not in this area anymore. He's out east now. Gosh, why am I forgetting his name? As I drop my pen. Gosh, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head.
all right.
But yeah.
I mean, he drives a Juke. He doesn't deserve a shout out.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems with the ECU and whatnot, and trying to build that thing. But yeah, it was an interesting rally build.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's the other thing about rallying that's so cool, though, is just the interesting builds. You have
Everything.
people that will just. You made that into a rally car,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but that makes it so interesting and so fun.
Yeah.
Have you seen that Ferrari 360 in person rally? You know what I'm talking about? There's a Ferrari 360 someone rallies I've seen on YouTube a bunch, and I'm like, I want to go and see that.
Is it
I have
here?
no.
I don't think it's here, but I'll send you a video link
there's-
later. But there's
there's
a whole channel dedicated to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you know about Sam Alberts, though, Ferrari engined Subaru, though, right? Yeah, and he's from here in Portland, and that
Is he Portland? I thought he was Spokane.
No,
No?
no, he's in Portland.
Because it runs the
that's
458 engine, right?
Better.
That one?
Whatever was in the California.
Oh, I didn't realize it ran that one.
Yeah,
Interesting.
The Maranello or whatever it is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cheaper engine. That's why.
Yeah.
It's more
As
easier to
Ferrari
source.
goes.
Yeah,
Well-
it's easier to source and was cheaper.
I don't know if that would. Okay, so here's the thing: a 458.
Sorry, you're the Ferrari guy,
I
so
know.
you're
I know.
gonna school
a
me on this.
458 engine is the same that's in like the Maserati, so you can get those for if it's a Maserati brand on top. Get them for like a couple grand. If it's a Ferrari engine, you're spending 10. But the California is interesting.
No, his is definitely more around
Because-
that range. So I think that is. I think he told me it was the one out of the California.
Because the reason that's interesting is because those are turboed engines, and to get all that together,
His was NA.
No, his NA.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the Californias are turbo. Anyways, that's why it's interesting.
Are you sure all of them were?
I
Put
tell
us
you
in
what.
touch.
Check. I think the
Put us in
orig-
touch
I think-
with Sam. We'll get to the bottom.
I tell you what we'll do. I'll
Exactly.
reach out to
Might
Sam and
not
see if
be.
I can get him on.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Anyways, you had other questions.
That was all those questions. I did want to give you the floor if there's anything else you wanted to touch on.
I think I touched on most of it.
It was
I
really
just-
in depth, and I appreciate that.
Oh,
It was really
hey,
good.
I love talking about it.
Yeah.
This is
awesome.
a sport that like I said, I got so sucked into this, and
We can
just
tell
so
there's
much-
passion there.
good.
That's awesome.
Good. I mean, it is a very technical sport, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the tough things is it's hard to follow because it is one car at a time and all that. So you're having to look at a timing list and whatnot.
Sure.
But you still get that vibe of the competition being close when you're there.
Yeah.
And I think that's when people try and follow an event remotely, it's harder to get that true excitement, that vibe.
Yeah. if you're just watching timing sheets. For
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
So come out and see it.
Yeah, I can't
It's
wait.
an experience.
I can't wait to come see it.
When you hear the sound of those engines
Yeah.
echoing off of canyon walls and stuff like that, that is not something you will get
You
at a
don't
racetrack.
Well, you don't get that on the TV either.
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
I mean, you hear the screaming engine. It's pretty cool, but
Exactly.
I want to see it in person.
Yeah.
So-
So, go and hear the Doppler effect.
And
I got it right there. Why would I need it anywhere else?
perfect.
and the best is when there's a night stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just you got this kind of quiet. You can hear the car starting to approach in the distance,
Yep.
and suddenly you get these lights that come out of around a corner,
Yeah.
and just suddenly lights up everything around you with the light pods, right? And the noise is just amazing. You got fire spitting out of the back as it lets off the gas and goes in the corner with the anti-lag, and then it fades out and disappears, and
Awesome.
it's just gone.
And they are ripping.
You literally just painted a picture in my head. That's
No, it's beautiful.
So good.
That's great. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
let's make clarification. So you were right.
Thank
original
you.
California.
I want to hear that again. You said what?
You were correct.
Thank you.
The original California was non-turbo, and I should clarify the ones in the first gen, late 2000s, early teens. The second gen was a turbo one on that one, and I think that's where it was coming to me because most of the newer ones and Ferrari went to turbo after the 458 and around the areas where everything was turbo.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but that makes sense. Interesting. I didn't know it was that V8 in there.
Yep.
But yeah.
All right. Well, let's try to get Sam on the show.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. I want to talk about next show.
Okay.
I'm going to put this challenge out there. So last show, which was 2 weeks ago, yes, but we did the pony car challenge where we each took a specific car and
Put 12 grand.
virtually put 12 grand into it and built a competitive Optima car.
I will say I've gotten a lot of feedback from our listeners because spoilers.
And they said how ridiculous it was.
So just a spoiler on this one. Jeremy was given a Ford Mustang 2015.
We don't
do we need to
go
recap?
back it.
We don't need to recap.
No, we don't
Everybody
need
heard
to
it.
recap.
All right, fine. I'm just going to say a lot of our listeners are pissed at me because I put a Ford motor in a Chevy.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
So I tried to block out a little more rules to keep Grant in check. Okay, so here's the challenge. All right, this one is we're going to call it Project Autocross Challenge. Low budget build.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
the build's designed for entry level autocrosser novice class, time only.
Okay.
Okay, that gives you a rule set.
Okay.
All right, car should be buildable in the future for expanded capabilities, or at some point you could lock it into a spec class.
Okay. So don't go the top end. You want to be able to keep upgrading.
Buildable.
Okay.
Your budget is 10 grand.
Okay.
You do not get a car. You have to purchase a car.
Okay.
Okay.
That's car and parts.
Car and parts.
Roger that.
Hang on.
10
Hang on.
grand.
Hang on.
Mac, just listen to me.
Okay.
All right. So we want people to be able to do this. Just like we talked Max into building the autocross truck.
Yes.
He went out and did it. Now his budget was a lot less than 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal.
Okay.
It's a streetable autocross car. You have to be able to drive it to the events,
Okay.
not towing it on a trailer.
Okay.
Okay?
So it's got to be reliable.
Configured for time only.
Okay.
Capable of driving safely to and from an autocross event up to 200 miles from home.
Okay.
Okay? Now, your peers, that's looking at you. So, me and Jeremy are going to judge whether your car is capable of making it to an event or not. All right? So, reliability matters.
Okay.
You're building 200 tread-wear tires,
Mm-hmm.
no size restrictions. You don't even have a car restriction. You pick whatever car you want that fits in your budget.
Okay.
No aero.
Oh. Okay.
Well,
You're making this very difficult.
Yes, I am. I put you in a pigeonhole. All right, so you have to purchase your car off of Facebook Marketplace. Build yourself a spec sheet. We want to be able to see it.
Okay.
Just use one of these pages and copy it into that.
Ooh,
now,
I like the last rule.
The last rule,
That's my favorite.
all the money you save under your 10K budget will go towards your next build.
Oh, that's
Okay? This is a budget build. You've got 10 grand, but you don't want to spend it all.
so. Okay. I have to know. Can we clarify no arrow? What does that?
No, zero.
So
No. I need.
what
to know.
if it's factory?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
not the same.
And I'm saying
not
are we
adding
saying
arrow.
Things
No
that,
aftermarket arrow.
Things that can make downforce.
Correct.
And are we saying things that are make downforce by air passing over the car?
Dude. You're on a budget.
No arrow.
You're on a budget.
You're not going to have enough money
No
for arrow
aftermarket
anyway.
arrow.
Okay. I'm thinking of some other
Nope.
stuff.
What a dork.
I know.
You make things so
Here we go with another
This
fucking
should not be
Ford
that
engine and a
difficult.
Subaru.
Where are you going with this? Are you thinking like ground effect arrow? Is that what you're thinking?
No, I'm thinking like a fan vehicle.
Oh my gosh.
You're so lame.
What?
Dude.
On a 10 grand budget, you still have to buy the car, too.
Yeah, you could put a fan in the Miata. Suck it to the
You're
ground.
the worst.
No.
Why do I even try?
On autocross, do you really think that's going to matter?
No.
Oh, you'd see some of our competitors how
Grant?
they're into it.
Grant,
It doesn't mean it matters. They may be into it, but it may not matter.
Grant, I need you to be serious about this one, man.
Dude, the last one I was.
It was terrible.
No, you
So
weren't.
good.
Terrible.
It was awful.
It was amazing.
You took a perfectly good platform and fucked it over.
Hey, I was going.
did.
We had the Optima Street Challenge, and I was like, I'm going for for the engineering category. I
You
want
would have lost engineering.
You would.
100% you lost
The
engineering.
judges all threw up when you started talking.
They're like, you put a Ford engine in a Chevy, you lose. You lose.
we should ask some of Optima friends what they think.
So
I'd love to hear.
I
want
to put this out to our listeners.
Yeah.
If you want to take on the challenge, build a spec sheet and email it to me. I'd be happy to go over it on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be
Hell
interested
yeah.
to see if they're.
So
they're
email untitledcarproject@gmail.com.
And we'll pick the top 3.
Oh, that'd be great.
Do we want to give an award? To
I
the
could do
top-
that. Yeah,
the highest
send out some T-shirts or something.
Yeah, if you build top 3, we'll give a T-shirt to.
Okay,
Okay.
I like it.
I like it. Yeah, that's good. And a sticker.
Yeah.
Pile of them.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. So that's our show for tonight, Mike. Thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
I really
Fun.
appreciate your time. I found it super intriguing, interesting. Makes me want to go see some rally.
Oh,
We are. That's,
We're going.
Yes.
Now, I already know the dates that you threw out there. I think is our first autocross event. Just saying.
How dare you?
But we'll find something. We'll go.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we'll be
maybe so. Is that on the Friday? So then come out.
We run Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be
I'm
there.
checking.
Yeah, he'll probably.
I'll be there.
Yeah. He could care less about the autocross.
I really want to go to the Wednesday thing before.
the
You
Wednesday
still do
thing.
those?
Oh, back when we did the press stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Oh.
We actually come we start early on the Friday and do a shakedown, as we call it.
Oh, okay.
And there are some rides that we do for the press there.
Grant is giving me an update, so
We
it's
have
not that weekend.
Our first race is May 10th.
Perfect.
So it's the
Yes.
weekend before.
Weekend before, yeah.
So there
That
you go.
is awesome.
Yay.
So that
Get
means
that
we're
on
We'll
the
all
calendar.
be there. I
I'm
like it.
excited.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see that.
Yay.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. Again, share the show with your friends. Hit like, subscribe, whatever.
Give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook.
All the things. And check us out next week. We'll be back. Thanks
And
for listening.
Send us an email at untitledcarproject@gmail.com. Thank you.
good.
Yeah.